Joe Rogan Podcast, check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day. Hello, Nate.
Joe.
Good to see you,
Good
my
to
friend.
see you, buddy.
It was fun last night. It was fun doing
It was
gig.
fun. Yeah. Yeah, that worked out great. I came here, to go do a spot. I was in two very different environments of just a corporate gig and then the Vulcan. It was, but it was awesome. It was awesome to get to see your hour. It's tight, my friend.
Thank you.
It really was. It was very fun.
Thank you.
Which was, I'm a big fan of fun.
Me too.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like stuff's not getting as fun anymore. And it was fun. It's like you can see when everybody's watching something and it's like they're just having a good time. Like it's just a fun.
Yeah.
Like, what comedy is. Stand-up is, you're like, enjoy it. Let's have fun.
I think there's still people doing that. But there's a lot of people who've kind of lost their way.
It's, yeah. And I think you're going to see a separation, though. I think it will be, it's people that are going to, not want to go on, they don't want to go on the road anymore. And they like, it's a lot to go do stand-up. And so I think you're going to see the pandemic almost like split it to be like, all right, who like did whatever they had to do shows where they did them outside. They, are try to stay funny.
Right.
During the pandemic.
Versus
just collapsing on themselves and not being funny. And it's a muscle.
Have you noticed how many people have gotten like very, very political on Twitter, like during the pandemic?
Yeah.
It became like, especially comedians, and this, I'm not trying to be mean, but who are not that good and were not that successful.
Yeah.
They were kind of hanging on, and now you go to their fucking Twitter feed and it's just this political extravaganza.
Yeah.
And they go deep. They're like people who know like third string quarterbacks that play for colleges. That's how they handle. Yeah. That's how they handle politics.
Yeah.
They'll talk about like obscure senators from North Dakota. You're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. We should know who they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're obsessed with it in this very weird way. It's like I think they're distracting themselves from the fact that their career is kind of gone. And so now they're just mostly concentrating on politics.
I think it's and two, for some, I always look at it as like a cash grab. Like sometimes it's like, it's a quick, like, all right, you think some steam on this kind of thing, maybe some tweets or some, whatever, you feel like you're being, you're having a lot of reaction in the Twitter world. And so you think like, all right, this is, I'll do this as a career. Like you're trying to pick your lane.
Right.
And then they go down that lane, and that lane just can't sustain. It's like when you go watch a stand-up comedy, you have to have an act. People will go watch someone for once, but if they do not have an act, like no one's going to come back.
Right.
An act is what it's about. You go to Vegas, you still go to Vegas. David Copperfield has to do an act.
Right.
That's why Carrot Top's been in Vegas for 30 years or whatever he's been there, because there's an act.
Right.
And you're like, I bought this and I'm watching this for 1 hour and it was entertaining and I leave and I have a good time. You have to create an act. It can't be this like trick. That's kind of like, I'll trick you to get in the door, but then you go watch it. I see it with like, there's some, you see people on Instagram and I don't know them. Like someone were like these rappers and they have like 5 million followers or something, and you're like, is this guy, or is he like super famous or something? And then, but you're like, I don't know if he is. Like, I think it's like he's famous on Instagram, like he's famous for people watching that. But you're like, I don't know if this guy's selling tickets or, and I don't know. I'm sure it's more than just I've just seen a couple of the rappers. As I started following one because I was like, I was like curious to be like, well, what's this dude's life? Like, you just want to watch him. He's doing some, they're doing rock venues and they're doing all this, and they're millions of followers, and they have all the stuff, the watches, and you're like, I'm just like, is this guy? Is it? Is that guy going to sell out Madison Square Garden? And I don't know if it is. I mean, maybe it is. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But it's the fascinating. you get this audience that's on board with you with social media, but like they're not going to translate. They're not going to go with you for your career. People want to grow with their people, I think. If you like someone, you're like, I'd like to grow. Like, you see them have a family, and then they have this, and they kind of just keep talking about their evolution of life. And that's what you enjoy watching. Like,
yeah, and that's like the whole process when you put out a special of developing new material and then making sure that it's up to snuff and then recording again. And this, like, how many years, what is your process in terms of like how much time do you do in between specials?
This one, I taped the last one in 2020 because it came out in early 21, and I'm taping the next one in September in Phoenix.
So roughly 2 years?
Yeah. It comes, a special will come out, because it all times out about the same.
Yeah.
So 2 years. And I think that's good, and I don't think you should, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And doing it more than that, I think, is too much. And then,
I did 2 years in a row. I did 2014, 16, and 18.
Yeah, I think that's the way.
And then I was going to do 20, but then the pandemic hit, and I really didn't do stand-up for quite a while. And then I realized that when I started doing stand-up again, having a little bit more time with the material, like, really made it tighten up more.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I feel like everything is way tighter now. Like, this set, it's also working in Texas because we've been doing, these regular sets at Vulcan Gas Company and Creek in the Cave. And so I'm headlining all the time. So I'm doing an hour. So instead of doing like 15-minute sets, I'm doing like all this material. So it's very tight. And I've just been doing it a lot over and over again. And then I've been touring on the weekends. So I've been doing arenas and theaters and comedy clubs, like all these different kinds of venues on purpose, like different size venues. And I feel like more time's better. I feel like this is like the tightest one I've ever had, and it's got the most laughs of any special that I've ever had. And I feel like 4 years, which is what it will be when this one comes out, I feel like that is even better. It's even better than 2.
You get to be with it a lot more.
Yeah. And you get to like have much more material too, right? So I have like a whole extra hour. So I have this hour, and then I have the B-side stuff that I can like build up and turn into like A bits. Yeah. And so like once I abandon this special and put it out, I'll have stuff to work with.
Yeah, I believe the road is, I think you write more on the road. Because when you have more time on stage, you're just not as like doing sets and doing spots are like, that's how you get stuff tight. And that's what you need at the beginning is to learn how to be tight. But, if you you go back to New York, you do 10-minute spots and you're like, well, I feel like I got to murder. Like you can't like sit for a second. Right. And when you got a long time, I can sit because I know the next thing's going to be work. Right. And then you can really like be like, let me just see if I can mess around with this a little bit here because there's not as much pressure as like, you mess with one bit and then your bits just get longer. Yeah. And when you start doing, I've noticed from going to clubs to theaters, like when I first started headlining in clubs, it was, doing 45 minutes was tough. I would get tired. I remember just talking that long. Like, you're like, I've never, you're just like, how do people even do it? You hit 35 minutes and you're like, I'm out of everything. I've done every closer I've ever come up with. And so now you're just trying to get out of the set. And then the longer you do it, then you start getting into theaters. And I don't move around a lot, like all this. But like you just like everything just expands. Because there's more people, it's just a different, it's pretty wild. It's a pretty different thing. And it's fun to learn it. It's fun to get to do it.
Some guys get stuck in that city mentality and they keep doing those 15-minute sets. And those 15-minute sets or 10-minute sets are great. But if you want a headline, it's not the same. It's not like you just don't string 10 of those sets together. Like you really have to develop an actual hour. If you're gonna do an hour, you can't just take 4 15-minute sets. It's sort of, you really want it to flow, and the only way to get the sense of the right way to do it is to do that hour. And I think that fucks guys when they only do the city and then they try to go on the road and headline, and you see them in their fucking hotel room in a panic with like stacks of notes, like trying to piece their act together.
Yeah, it's a show. It's I love making stuff like really go into the next thing. Like that's how you remember your act.
Right.
Is you're like, well, the only thing that could come after this is this. Like if you're talking, I'm talking about my kid, then I'm talking about my wife. Well, like they go together, and
Right.
so you put them together, and then you put all this stuff together, and that's the aspect of creating a show, and that's where like you tell, like if you see young comics or even young entertainers, it's like that's why it's like do an act, dude. Like you got to create. Even in a 5-minute thing, at least have a system that you're like, I'm starting with this, I'm gonna close with this, and I'm gonna try to make them make it seem like I'm not going in between each thing.
Unless you're one of those non sequitur guys. I've always felt like those guys have the hardest job. Like the Mitch Hedberg types or the Stephen Wright types. Those guys who just do here's another joke, here's another, like William Montgomery does that. It's just like here's a joke, here's another joke. It's like, whew, how do you remember all that?
I don't know. That's a lot. I mean, it's just because it's if you talk about yourself and it's personal, you're like, well, at least it's your opinion, it's your point of view. So I think then it makes everything becomes funny because it's your point of view. So if I'm watching you, I'm buying into you. So I want you to go to the grocery store, and I want to see what Joe Rogan does at the grocery store. And so like there's a lot more opportunity for that, and then that would make me nervous with those guys. That's why it is amazing to be able to write these jokes, to be actual joke writers, which is, this stand-up was. It's how stand-up started, just this joke writing. And to be able to do that and just crank out these jokes, it's unreal.
I love the fact there's so many different styles, too. I really do love the fact that there are these, like, absurdist, non-sequitur guys, and then there's other guys like you tell, like, stories. You tell, like, long stories, and people get sucked into your rhythm. It was very fun watching you last night going on after Tony, too.
Yeah.
So Tony's on stage last night, for everybody who wasn't there, and Jamie, and some lady starts fucking screaming at him. She starts screaming at him, some, like, super lefty liberal lady calling him a sexist, and Tony says, how am I a sexist? I'm literally the most feminine man you'll meet all night. and he starts going into all the different bits where he makes fun of himself. He's like, I already said that about myself. He goes, I mock my own masculinity, and you're telling me I'm a sexist? It was very funny, and they wound up. She was unhinged though.
Yeah, she left.
So it was all this craziness. Well, he has a bit about the C word, so it was that bit that set her off. That was like, that's it, and she fucking blew a fuse. And then you went on afterwards, no curse words, like you just took control of the room and started telling your stories, and it was great, man. It was really fun to watch. It was really fun to watch the transition. And your fucking timing was so good, dude.
Oh, thank you.
Really fun. I just love when I haven't seen you in a while, and it's great to be able to watch like a comic just that you're clearly like super tight. You've been on the road. It's real obvious. Like everything is nice and polished.
Yeah,
it's really fun to watch you shift the gears of the room too.
That was that's why like New York was great, because it's like you learned how to do that.
Oh, you have to.
You have to, because you're following who knows what.
Who knows what.
And you're following guys that are going to murder. You're following Greer Barnes and Ben Bailey, and I remember them, like they were Will Savants. They would murder, and then you'd have to go up behind them. And then I had this rhythm, and I talked slower and all this. So you had to learn very quickly how do I get you to come to me?
Right.
Because if I can't match energy, that's a big one that's always the one that I don't ever. People always say like, "What advice would you give yourself?" Like, I'm not a big. You're like, I learned everything because of all the stuff that I failed. But if you just remind yourself, like, just do you, and just get into your rhythm. You can't match what other people do.
It makes you tighten your stuff up, though. It does make you put like you have to edit things well. Like when you're going on after killers and you have to establish that you know what you're doing. Like the audience has to get some confidence in you. If you're following the worst people to follow they don't really have them anymore. They're kind of rare now. But music acts.
Yeah.
You ever ever follow a music act?
Oh yeah.
So what I mean by music act, I don't mean like musician folks for folks at home. I mean like a comedy music guy who sings comedy songs, and they usually suck. but they usually have something to do with like getting your dick sucked or shit in your pants.
They sound amazing. You're like, that sounds unbelievable.
Where's this guy playing? I want to hear about shit in your pants. But yeah, they would fucking kill, and they had music. So they're like, I shit my pants, you know. And then you're on afterwards. So took my daughter to the park the other day.
Yeah, it's such a weird.
And you have to have, like, it has to be the stuff that you say first has to somehow or another establish who you are.
Yeah,
and you have to like get them,
and
so
how
they're
quick.
Interested.
You got to get them quick.
Yeah, they have to be interested in you.
You got to learn. The thing I learned in New York is like you got to make them laugh as quick as you can.
Yes.
And so it's like, what can I do to get you in my rhythm, and what's the quickest laugh I can get to, so you can kind of reset the tone. Because if you follow something, an act like that, or someone that murders or something, it might take a couple jokes, even if they're good jokes, just to like reset the room and then be like, all right,
yeah,
now I got you. Because you only have 10 minutes. You only have 15 minutes. Like, so it's tough.
That was the store too. That was a big thing about the store. It's like you're going on after arena acts. Like you will follow Sebastian. You'll follow.
Oh yeah.
It's like there's all these killers. Louis C.K. stops in. Like Jesus Christ. Like on any night you're following just assassins.
I remember I was doing a Tonight Show, and I was going to go run it at Gotham in New York. And this was when Louis was hosting SNL. And so I was going to get it go up like first, and then Louis came in to run his SNL set that he was going to do on SNL, and I had to follow that. Which he was like, ended up being fine, but it was like Louis, like that set that he did was like unbelievable.
Yeah.
And he went on, and I mean, just murdered. Like, and it's Louis C.K. and he's hosting SNL. I mean, it's everything.
Yeah.
And then it's like, here comes Nate Bargatze doing Tonight Show, and everybody's like, whatever, you know, it's like fine. And you're just up there trying to do your dumb, you know, because you feel like you're like, I'm trying to get into it.
Yeah.
But I learned you would say, so you have to learn stuff. Like I learned then, like that, I would walk up like, obviously the show is peaked, and like it's enough to get a laugh.
Right.
To set, you know, to be like, yeah, we get what we all just saw.
Right.
Let me just try to get back into, and then just do your act.
When I was living in L.A. in the 90s, I had to follow Richard Pryor 5 weeks in a row, 5 or 6 weeks in a row. And it was when Richard Pryor was dying.
Oh.
And so it might have been the 2000s by then. But either way, it was he was very sick, and he was in a wheelchair. And so they would carry him to the stage. So it essentially, like, Marilyn Martinez's husband and Chewy was the door guy. They would walk him all the way to the stage, like kind of like support his body weight all the way to the stage, and then get him to a seat. And his voice was so feeble that they had to crank the sound up really loud, like, and he'd be like, I always love pussy. And he had like a drink with him, but it was, you know, he was just trying to.
And then you got to go up after him, and it's like a whole thing to get him back off stage. So it's not like you get to go right up. You're like, it's going to be about 10 minutes before we get him down.
Well, not only that, but at the store, we would do it like we did at the Vulcan. We tag team. The next, I would bring up the next guy.
He'd bring you up?
He didn't.
Oh.
The piano man brought me up.
Yeah.
Because they have to carry him out of there.
Yeah.
So they would come back on stage and grab Richard Pryor, and then the piano man would be like, who was Jeff Scott, rest in peace, and he would go, Richard Pryor, ladies and gentlemen, and now please welcome Joe Rogan. And I was just fucking, and I was, I'm pretty sure it was in the 90s, because I remember I was in my 20s, and I was just like, what am I doing? Following Richard Pryor.
Yeah, that's why. Well, to be able to see that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. That
you crossed paths enough to get to see, I mean, to see him, even at that stage.
Well, it was a full circle for me, because the first time I ever really saw stand-up was I was 15 years old. My parents took me to see Live at the Sunset Strip.
Oh, wow.
I'll never forget.
Yeah.
I was in the movie theater watching these people flop around in their seats, laughing so hard they couldn't even sit still. They were just falling down. And I remember looking around the theater going, I can't believe how funny this is. This is so funny. And all he's doing is talking. Because I thought about like Stripes, which was this amazing, funny movie. I'm like, but it wasn't this funny. Like, this guy's so funny. and he's just talking. I'm like, it's incredible.
Just words.
And that had like a permanent effect on me. I mean, I didn't think back then, oh, I want to be a comedian, because that was when I was doing martial arts and that's all I thought about. But I couldn't imagine how funny it was. I was like, this is incredible. I've never seen anything like that. Because the only comedy I'd ever seen other than that was like The Tonight Show.
Yeah.
I'd see like, Richard Jeni do a set on The Tonight Show. I used to love watching like the comedians on The Tonight Show. And then like Evening at the Improv, I used to love that. But I just couldn't believe how funny he was. It was like blown away. Like I thought about it for months.
Well, being in that room and seeing that, where like you said, like people are just like losing it.
Yeah.
That's pretty special. I mean, it's crazy, because it is crazy to think with stand-up. It's just talking. It's straight up just your words.
Yeah.
I always find it very interesting to, even when you get your act, you know when they're going to laugh, which is always kind of, because laughing it's hard to make someone laugh, and then sometimes you're like I know about here.
Yeah.
They're going to laugh.
When I say live on the Sunset Strip, I don't mean actually being on the Sunset Strip.
Just that hour.
The movie.
Yeah.
It was a movie that was in the movie theaters. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I was in a movie theater.
Oh,
which
that's
was
even crazier.
Well, it was crazy, but it was also, it's one of the best ways to see a comedy special, because it's like you're in the crowd.
Yeah.
It's like you're hearing everybody else laugh too. Like there's a contagiousness to it. But no, I was in Boston. Well, I wasn't on the Sunset Strip.
That would be an interesting way to do specials.
Well, that's how some people, like Gabriel Iglesias, he released a special in the movies. And then I think Kevin Hart did too.
Yeah.
But that's all recently. Most people recently have not been releasing specials.
It's almost like that would be a good way to do it.
Right,
like,
because there's a crowd there.
There's a crowd.
Yeah.
They're not super long. It's like it would be I think I would enjoy watching a special in a.
Yeah.
It'd be the exact.
Yeah.
It'd be the best experience you could have.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's the next evolution of stand-up. Like you sell tickets, like, or streaming, like that way, where you'll go to a place and people will all watch it together. Because like watching a stand-up special at home is great, but it's not as good as like watching it with a lot of people around. Like,
No.
Comedy is a weird thing, right? Like I can enjoy music by myself, but going to see a comic with other people is way better than just going by yourself.
That's what you're selling in an event.
Yeah.
It's being out.
It's also there's a weird thing that happens when people get in a room together. It happens with music too, when you're sharing an experience, and it makes it better because there's all these other people that are sharing it with you. And comedy is like the best for that, because like when other people are laughing, like you smile too. Like it's like, man, this is fucking funny.
Right?
Look at fucking oh my god! Like I'll never forget, we were doing a show once, and someone was on stage killing, and this lady, I wasn't up yet. I was just sitting on the side of the road, the side of the stage, or the back of the stage, by the store, the back of the room. And this lady just looks at me. She's like, "Oh my god, this is so funny!" Just looking around for people to laugh with.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Look at her!" Like she's like, everybody's just joining in.
Yeah.
Like people are looking at each other at the other tables, like, ah! They're seeing people laugh. Like, oh, it adds to it. It makes it. It's a communal experience.
I agree. I think it's it'd be very interesting to do stuff like that, like, and to do it because you're selling. Like that's why going to live shows are so great.
Yeah.
Because you're just next to each other. You start laughing. I mean, that's like when you show someone stand up. I was telling you before, like with Attell, two guys on my bus had never heard. They're not comics, but they never heard Skanks for the Memories. So I played it for them, and getting to watch them watch it. You get to go back through it and catch all the little stuff that I forgot or I didn't catch.
Right.
But then also getting to watch them watch it, which is the most fun.
Yeah.
Because you get to like just seeing someone laugh. People like that. People like sharing joy.
Yeah.
That they want to go. I want to just see you laugh at this.
Yeah.
And like that makes me laugh even more, because then I'm happy, and it's a beautiful thing.
Especially when they're laughing for the first time, never heard the jokes. So even though you know the jokes are coming, you get to laugh extra because they're laughing with it.
And you're like, you're not even to the part yet.
Right.
And you're watching them lose it. And you're like, you don't even know what's about to come.
Well, that was Attell back when he was doing Insomniac. So he was touring around the country and getting hammered every night. And that was a wild, different Attell.
I saw that Attell at the beginning when I first moved to New York.
What year did you start?
I started in 2003, but then I moved to New York in 2004.
And so you moved to New York like 1 year after you started. Where'd you start?
Chicago. I moved to Chicago.
No
I took a comedy class. It's a comedy
really?
college.
Where at?
Yeah. In Chicago Comedy College, Jim Roth. I still talk to that guy.
Comedy college.
Yeah.
Is it good?
Just, yeah, I'm not against classes. A lot of comics are, because it's just, I didn't know what to do. You don't know what to do. It's like they're not teaching you how to be jokes, but you're like, you're so nervous. You're scared. I moved to a different city. I didn't know anybody. So it was nice to just go do it. And
what made you move there?
I had a buddy that wanted to go to Second City, and he wanted to do improv.
Oh, and you moved from?
Nashville.
So straight from Nashville, right to Chicago, and you were only there a year before you moved to New York.
I did comedy about a year. We ended up living there 2 years, but it was like I only did comedy about a year and a half there, but that was Pete Holmes was there, Kumail Nanjiani, Hannibal,
really?
Jared Logan, Nick Vatterott. I mean, it was T.J. Miller.
Scene.
Yeah. We were all brand new, and then Pete moved to New York. And then I moved right after Pete. I barked with Pete. His show.
Explain barking to people.
Oh, like standing on a corner, just handing out flyers. So you just like, hey, we got a great comedy show tonight, and you're just sitting out there, and you hand someone a flyer, and then they drop it on the ground in front of you. That's what barking is. You just basically, do you mind throwing this on the ground? And they go, yeah, I'll do it. And
that's a thing that really only goes down in New York.
Yeah, it's like a business.
Really?
I think now they start hiring people, but when I did it, we did it for Boston Comedy Club, and my buddy Dustin Chafin, happy birthday, Dustin. Happy birthday to you. I didn't say
Thank
it.
you.
Both have birthdays today.
Boston was open in 2004?
Yeah.
Still?
It was right. I was there.
When it was about
I was
to
at
close?
the very end of it. I got in. I would see Chappelle there every night. Chappelle's on the Chappelle show. It was right before Chappelle left when he... because he would
walkabout.
Yeah, because he would come. I saw Burr, Patrice, that's where I saw all those guys, and I went to their HBO one night stand tapings, and you saw them run sets, and you saw them everybody kind of come up. Louis was probably the biggest, but still wasn't insanely Louis yet, but was like the one. Burr was like the one that you're watching, and he's like the first guy that you're like, I can't we'd go watch him at Caroline's, and no one was there. Or no one's there, but it's half full. No one kind of know him from O&A or something. And then the next year is when his HBO thing, and then you're like, it's sold out. And Caroline's like, you couldn't even. They were like, you can't come watch. And you're like, we were watching last. And they're like, yeah, well, everybody could come watch last year. Now you can't. It's too full, and it'd be too crowded.
Yeah.
And so he was watching him just blow up.
That's a very fortunate thing that we have, and it's really good for young comics to watch someone blow up. Because then, if it ever does happen to you, you kind of understand what happens, the process of it all.
Mm-hmm.
You get to see what it's like when someone...
You get to see it's possible.
Yeah, you see it's possible.
Because you're like, that dude was just here.
Right.
And now he's not.
Because we always tend to think about people as being in a static state. If you run into Chris Rock, you assume he's always been Chris Rock.
Yeah.
But if you knew Chris Rock when he was just starting out, you'd go, oh, this is the process. This is possible for everybody.
I just saw a clip today about with Chris talking about New Jack City, saying that when him and Ice-T were reading lines at the table, and they didn't have, I guess, a star, and it was for Wesley Snipes, and then they got Wesley Snipes, and Wesley Snipes wasn't they didn't know who he wasn't famous, but then once Wesley Snipes started reading the line, they were like, oh, this movie's gonna be real, it's gonna be huge, and he wasn't huge, but they could tell that oh, this dude's different.
Yeah.
And that was and that's Chris Rock and Ice-T, who are not Chris Rock and Ice-T. And then they're even they're just dudes reading at a table, and then they see Wesley Snipes, they're like, oh, now this movie's about to be huge.
Oh, he's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
Wesley Snipes could act his ass off. He had power, He was great as Blade. I really
Yeah.
wish they would bring Blade back.
What did
I know they're bringing it back with a new actor, but god damn it, Wesley Snipes was good.
Wesley Snipes is
He was good.
great action.
He was a good Blade.
Yeah, very fun.
Apparently, though, he went off the rails. He went a little nutty because Patton Oswalt has a whole bit about doing Blade 3 with Wesley Snipes. About Wesley Snipes is like allegedly imbibing in certain, controlled substances.
Yeah.
Whilst in his trailer, it just was like is out of control and fucked up the whole taping of it. Patton has like a whole bit. He like a whole chunk that he did on filming Blade 3.
Yeah. If you met Wesley Snipes, it'd be wild. Like
Yeah.
to be around him and just because those guys are so famous.
I was supposed to fight him.
Really?
Yeah, I was supposed Wesley Snipes is about to go to jail for taxes, and they were trying to figure out a way to make money. And they came to this guy Camel McLaren, who was one of the original producers of the UFC, and they wanted Wesley Snipes to fight Jean-Claude Van Damme. This was their idea, to have like a fight, an actual fight.
How old are they at this point? Like,
Wesley's older than me. I was in my 30s at the time, so I got to assume I was probably 35, so I got to assume he was in his late 30s or early 40s.
yeah.
He's still fit and but about to go to jail. Like he needed money.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to have a UFC fight. I trained for it for like 6 months. It was crazy.
You were
but-
going to fight him.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because, wait, John Von, he didn't want to do it.
They didn't want Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
They're like, there's not nobody
Dude, that would have
buys
been
his movies
amazing.
anymore.
Like an MMA fight?
Yeah, it was going to be an MMA fight.
And he's a big MMA.
I don't know.
Like,
He's really good at karate.
I don't know.
He
Like-
doesn't. The thing is, like, I don't think he had ever competed before. Like
Yeah.
I hadn't competed in more than 10 years, but I did have 3 kickboxing fights, and I had like 100 taekwondo fights. Like I fought a lot.
Yeah.
Like I know how to compete, and so I know I would have been like super nervous. But he doesn't know jujitsu, or what he knows. He doesn't. At the time, I don't know if I was a black belt yet. No, I don't think I was. I was a brown belt. But I was like, I'm gonna strangle this dude.
Yeah,
If I
because
get
you
a
were
hold of him-
younger and you're so much closer to all the like competing and all this kind of stuff, and then he's fighting from the stance.
It's a lot of things. It's the fact that I'd competed, the fact that I was pretty good at striking, and there was also like if I got a hold of him, if I grab him, he's dead. I was like, if a brown belt in jiu-jitsu who's really strong gets a hold of you and you're the same size as him, he's actually like a little smaller than me. So if I got a hold of him, he would have been fucked.
Dude, that would have been unreal.
It would have been wild.
That's
Unless he knocked me out, that would have sucked.
yeah.
Whew, get knocked
Just-
out by Blade.
At least it's Blade. There you go.
Wow.
I mean, what were they going to do? Like pay-per-view? And,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
it
was
just
gonna
didn't
be
happen.
Like,
it just
like CM Punk fought in the
Yeah.
UFC a couple of times. It would have been one of those deals.
And then y'all would have done it at the UFC.
Yeah.
Like, wow, dude.
Yeah, the UFC was on board.
Wow.
Lawyers involved. We went through a whole series of things. It was at first it was supposed to be 50-50, like 50-50 split.
Yeah.
And I said fine. And then he changed it again and said, I don't remember what his stipulation was. Like he wanted 60-40. And I said, I don't, and like the lawyers are like, should we push back this and that? Like, what do you want to do? I go, I'm going to fucking strangle this guy. So give him the money.
Yeah.
He's going to need the money. I go, it doesn't matter. It's not that much money.
Yeah.
Like whatever it is, like the difference, whatever the difference was.
Yeah, yeah.
I was training twice a day, every day. I was kickboxing with Rob Kamen. So I'd go in with Rob Kamen in the mornings, who was a legendary Holland kickboxer, and I would train with him, and he was taking me through his striking system, and I was sparring and kickboxing. And then after I did that, I would go to jiu-jitsu at night. I was fucking exhausted all the time. I couldn't believe how tired I was all the time. I was just so tired.
How close did it get before they
Pretty
pulled
fucking
it?
close.
Yeah.
Pretty close. Like we were trying to figure out when it would happen. Like would it be December or would it be November? Like what it was. And so I was just constantly training, just trying to get in shape. I'm like, I'm going to get ahead of this. And so it got down to, I forget what the final fucking straw that broke the camel's back was when he backed out. But I gave him everything he asked for. Every time they tried to change things, I said, okay.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to strangle him. I go, give him what he wants. I just don't want to lose him. I'm like, if he wants to do this, like I was so obsessed. And then once it was over, I was like, I'm glad I didn't do that. Like, because then I would have had another fight. Like, what if I had that fight and it went well, and then, you know, someone else wants to fight, and then I'm doing the Jake Paul thing.
Yeah.
That shit will consume you, because fighting is not something. First of all, it's not something you're gonna do great your first fight back. Because I would have fought and I would have said, my timing was off. I felt like I got a little too nervous. I need like the experience. Like the more active you are, if you're competing, the more you get comfortable with competing. So the more it feels like a normal thing. Like Daniel Cormier was actually just talking about that in one of the past UFCs, about a guy that had taken 2 years off because he had like a significant injury and there's a bunch of other shit that happened. And he's like, that is so hard to do. He goes, when you fight a lot, he's like, you go in there, it's just like a normal thing you do. Like you're in there, you're fighting, normal. I fought 2 months ago. It's normal. Yeah. You just go through your camp and you're in there. But for me, I mean, it would have been like over 10 years. So I would have probably been like a little sketchy, like a little like, whoo, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? But then once you do it, then you get the experience and you go, you know what? I was a little nervous doing that. Let me do that again. And then I don't think I showed my full potential. Let me do that again. And I would have probably said like, look, I'm in my 30s. I was probably 35, 36. I was like, I only got like a couple years left where I could physically do this and compete with, you know, legit martial artists. Like, give me like a couple more fights. And then I would have probably tried to fight some other celebrity / big mouth character. And then I would have been, who knows what it would have, I probably would have got brain damage more. And
yeah, I mean, you might not be here.
More.
You'd be just,
yeah.
He'd be talking to you now and you'd be like, hey, Joe, you all right, buddy?
Fine.
He's just fighting random people. That's wild that almost, I could see that if you don't fight for 2 years. I mean, that's what we're talking about with comedy.
Oh, yeah.
When you don't go up and you're not being funny and regularly being funny, then you lose that.
What's the most time you've ever taken off?
I don't even know. It should be like COVID. That should have been the answer. Like, I took off that whole, but even that had to be a month or two.
That's all you took off during COVID?
No, I guess more. I should say more. What if it's like, I don't believe in COVID, so I never took any time off. I did. That's the most comedy I've ever done. I tell you what, my biggest years were 2020. The most sets I've ever done.
There's plenty of open stages.
Yeah, I go. It was wide open, dude. I was trying to get off. No one was lighting me. No one was there. And then during COVID, that was definitely the most time I took off. Whatever it was, I guess a few months. I don't know exactly. And then you'd have like an outdoor thing, and then I did the drive-in tour. So we had that set up pretty quickly, and then I went and did those, and then so I was doing 3-4 cities a night. And my special I taped outside, and so it's like you just adjusted to.
I never did drive-in shows. Did you like those?
I liked them. Dude, one of my
loved them.
I loved them. It was. Do you want to go do them? I don't want to go do them all the time.
Right. You wouldn't want to do it now.
No. I'm doing amphitheaters right now, and those have been. I like them.
Some of them are great. Some of them are great.
So far, they've been awesome.
I heard Red Rocks is the shit.
I've
Bert
not
loved
done
it. Burr loved it.
Oh yeah, Red Rocks. I think is
Burr just filmed a special there.
Yeah. Red Rocks is legendary. Like, and then, but then some of these, like I'm going to Wisconsin Dells. I'm leaving tonight at midnight to just start driving there on the bus, and then I'll do that Saturday, and then so I like the outdoors because you can hear them. It's just going to do different things,
right? Like
the drive-in theaters was like, all right, well if I'm going, I might as well just go see what it is. I want to, you want to see your act, kind of go through everything, and they'd be like, I'll go talk to these cars. And then you got to learn the timing of that. Chicago, we did one, and it was one of the more memorable shows I think I'll ever have in my career. It was like starting to rain. It was like 45 degrees out. It was kind of chilly. I mean, there was 2,000 people there. It was like, I mean, so it's just car after car. And then they would laugh. And so they couldn't sit outside. People up front would sit outside, but then you can't. So they would like flash their lights and kind of honk for laughs. And they did it in the timing was great. Like you're like, oh, I just got to now, instead of hearing laughs, I'm just kind of going off the honks. And so then you're like, you kind of pause, beep, 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 and then some lights flash, and then you got to just trust that you know how to do it.
Yeah, I never did those, but I I took a long time off. I did. I went from March when everything shut down to July, and then Texas was still doing shows, like in comedy clubs, indoors. And I was like, that is crazy. And I remember me and Tony talking, and I'm like, do you want to like try it for a weekend? You know, and like apparently they said that, well, we have limited seating and we socially distance everyone. Horseshit. We got there, it was packed. The Improv was fucking packed. we got out there. I go, how the fuck are they socially distant? This is not socially distanced. People had their masks under their noses. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I did one weekend, and it was so much fun. But then I got really high. And I thought, what if I got COVID and gave it to one of my guests? And even though I was testing every day, you know, we were testing really early on. I was like, but what if? Like, what if? It's not worth it. Like, what if someone got really sick? What if someone died? You know, I started thinking about that. I was like, okay, I have to be more responsible. And so then I waited. And then we started doing outdoor shows. Chappelle and I started doing outdoor shows in Austin. He said, we got this place. Let's do stubs. We could do it outside. We'll screen the entire crowd. And we definitely tested people positive. There was quite a few people that got kicked out of the show. Like, because there'd be this long line outside. They would test you. You have to wait 15 minutes. And the positive people, they got sent home. You know, maybe half dozen or so during the course of all of our shows. But for the most part, people, you know if you're sick, you know if you're not feeling good. And most people were responsible.
Yeah.
And it was all outside anyway. And there's no outside transmission, really. And so we had these fucking amazing shows. And it felt so special that we were doing shows outside during the pandemic. And, you know, it's Donnell Rawlings, it's me, Mo Amer, Michelle Wolf. I mean, these were great fucking shows.
Yeah, I went to one. The one where Ron White was there.
Yeah, Ron did some shows with me. So then, you know, we were getting into that. Like, it was like, wow, we're doing stand-up again. If we have to do it just this way again, that's fine. But then one night we did the Vulcan. And we did it on, I think it was a Thursday night. I think it was Red Band's night. Or maybe it was Tony Hinchcliffe's night. I don't remember what it was. But I remember Ron White saying that, well, I'm basically going to retire. Man, I think I've done enough. You know, I'm gonna sell my jet. I'm gonna fucking kick back and just play golf, and I'm not doing stand up anymore. And then, you know, we said, hey, we got a show on Thursday night. You want to go do a set? He's like, well, maybe I'll do one fucking set. He goes on stage, and apparently he like took it very seriously, and he had an iPad and was like listening to old sets and going over his notes like all day long. He goes on stage and fucking murders. I mean, murders. And then I'm up after him, and he comes off stage, and he grabs me by my shoulders, and he goes, whatever we gotta do, we're fucking doing this again. Whatever we gotta do. Like, he was just, he was just electric, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he felt that juice again, and when he went on stage, they went fucking apeshit. Like, he's a legend everywhere, but he lives in Austin, you know, and so when he goes on stage in Austin, it's like,
Yeah, that's once you went back to the indoors,
it was impossible.
You're
impossible.
like, this is what it's about.
And
like,
also the indoors in a club. Like, amphitheater's great, outside's great, Stubbs is amazing, so much fun, but indoors in a club, just 300 people, everybody tight in, like,
boom,
madness. And we're all like, are we going to die from this?
Yeah.
Like, are we going to get sick from this? This was when I was already doing like vitamin infusions and shit, though. I was holding off all the colds.
Yeah.
I was keeping everything at bay. I was fucking on top. I was on point. I was doing hyperbaric chamber sessions. I was doing vitamin IVs. I was pretty fucking healthy just to try to, like, if this shit comes, I got to be ready.
Yeah.
You know, but and then I was hooked. Once we started doing that, I said, okay, well, I'm just gonna like really take care of myself and, you know, just fucking go back to doing shows.
Yeah. It changed. I mean, yeah, it's the being around people. It's everything. It's like going to a restaurant, going to any, like, getting people back together is, it's, everybody, you saw how much you missed it.
Well, that was one of the things that really sold my kids on Texas. You know, when we came out here, I was just disillusioned with LA, and I was very confused as to what the fuck they were doing. And when they wouldn't let people do outside shows, and they wouldn't let restaurants open, they wouldn't even let restaurants serve outside in some places. It was fucked. And it was just like, you're seeing these dipshits like the mayor of L.A., that Eric Garcetti guy is a fucking idiot. You're seeing that guy like telling people what to do. And I was like, this is a disaster. I got to get the fuck out of here. But I didn't know what to do. And I thought about moving to Utah at one point in time. I was going to get a mountain house. I thought about moving to Montana. I was like, I just got to get the fuck out of this city. Like, I don't trust these people. I don't want to be under their governance. And then we came to L.A. with a bunch of friends from California that were thinking about moving to Austin. And we said, you know, and I was like, you know, I don't know. I wasn't sure if I wanted to move to Austin, but like maybe that's a good place to be. I always love it here. And my fucking kids, when they came here, and, you know, they were 10 and 12 at the time, and they were like, why doesn't anyone have masks on? How come it's different here? Like, we go to a restaurant, we're just sitting in a restaurant, like, this is like normal? This is normal? We went and had barbecue outside, and everyone's friendly. And like, and then we went to the lake, and we were on the lake, and the lady who was showing us this house, she's very smart, my friend Bridget, she's a good friend now. She took us out on a boat on the lake, and my kids were like, we were jumping in the water and laughing, and they're like, I want to live here. And my wife was like, oh. And I go, let's buy a fucking house here. If you don't like it, we could, you know, we'll try it out for a year. And then it became, let's try it out for a year. And then as soon as
here we are.
As soon as we lived here, my kids immediately loved it. Like, they made friends, like normal kids that don't want to be fucking reality TV stars. Like,
well, I think that's the biggest, is to get around regular people. I've been back in Nashville for 7 years, I think, where I'm from, and our daughter, we moved back when she was 2, but it's like my family's there, and like she goes to school and she rides the bus.
And your parents live there?
Yeah. My parents are there. My wife's parents are about an hour away.
That's
like
nice.
Everybody's super close, so we see our family often. Yeah. And luckily I'm from Nashville, and Nashville's become a awesome town to move to. But they're, you know, our daughter goes to school, rides the bus. Like, it's trying to let her like have the most normal kind of like existence. And I think it's good for comics, because I'm doing normal things. I'm doing, you know, it's like you're not even, you know, you're not thinking about the business the whole time. Like, it's not like I mean, even though you do think about it, you know, but it's not as, you're like, yeah, I still got to go run, you know, we go watch her play softball, and then we go do this, and then, you know, and it just makes it, I think it just helps for your material.
100%. It also, like, it lets your material be pure, in that it's just really who you are and what you, and I never really had a problem with that, but I know some people who would be hoping that they would get on a sitcom, or hoping they would, you know, get a deal somewhere, and so they would tone down bits, or they would change bits. They wouldn't do what's the most funny. They would like pull back a little bit, because, and they would say, you would see them say things like on Twitter, like, oh, you virtue signaling fuck, I know what you're doing. Like, they're just trying to like signal to Hollywood, like, I'm on the right side. Yeah. I'm in the tribe, you know. Yeah. Here's my black square, it's Tuesday. You know, it's like they were doing these things where it was like real obvious that they were kind of captured by the idea of being a part of the system. Like, if I play my cards right, one day I'll be Kevin Hart. If I play my cards right, one day I'll be Jimmy Fallon. I'll host a show, I'll do this. And so you're kind of captured by this possible promise of money that comes from this weird place, which is Hollywood. Yeah. The television and film industry. Out here is none of that. Yeah. And so it's free. It's just comic. It's just comedy. And the actual industry is podcasting, which is the best industry for comics. It's the best industry for comics to be themselves, and it's also the best industry for comics because you get promoted way more. Like if you're a comic and you're in with like all the podcasters, like you're going on people's podcasts, you're having, like I was just on Theo's podcast, he was on mine. It was just fun as shit, having a great fucking
just
time,
talking,
just laughing our asses off, and it's like the best promotion for both of us. Best promotion for him, best promotion for me. It's like everybody's like out there doing their thing and everybody benefits from it. It's not like this, you're waiting for someone to give you a gig thing, you're hoping someone gives you a deal. No, you're just living life and doing comedy, and and you're rewarded for doing good comedy. You're rewarded for doing great sets. Like people talk about it, like, oh man, you should have seen Nate last night. Holy shit, that's funny. And people get talking about it on podcasts, and it benefits everybody. It's not like that. It rewards you for being real, as opposed to like, you know, settling into that system.
Yeah, it makes it, you can be yourself.
Yes.
So you're completely yourself, and which is, as a comedian, that's what you are selling, is yourself.
Yeah.
You're going, I am me, this is what I'm doing, and then that's what it is.
Exactly.
I think it is interesting to, I like when I went to, I lived in LA for 2 years, and then it was like going to auditions, and I just was like terrible at them. Like I can only talk like this, and I don't know how to not do this. I wasn't. I remember getting a call back somewhere, and they were like, she was like, if you dyed your like beard and hair just black, you would look young enough. And then I go back to the callback, still looking like this, and I think I was like, oh, you wanted me to do this for the callback. And I didn't realize that. And I was like, but what if I don't get it? Like, I'm not going to dye. I just dye my...
Walking around with weird black hair.
Yeah, and then you're like, and y'all say no. Like, I'm just, the odds are I'm not getting this.
Right.
So I'm not going to go do something that's so crazy just to be like, nah, we're good, dude. And
why can't they imagine you with dark hair? What are they, stupid?
Yeah, you're
How
like...
How hard is it to dye? It takes 10 minutes.
That's where it's like... They're looking. I don't know. They're looking for something. It's out of your hands.
Isn't there some stuff that they can just spray? Like when girls do like purple hair and they could just rinse it right out. You can do that.
Yeah, there could have probably been. I could have probably done that. I didn't think about any of this at the time.
That shit they do on your face, though. I know that guys have put that, like, I don't know if it's just for men or some other company. They put stuff on their beard and it gives them a chemical burn on their face. It's fuck guys' faces.
That's crazy.
I don't know which. Find out what that is. Like, there's stuff that guys do where they try to get rid of the gray on their beard, and maybe it's whether you leave it in long or maybe people are allergic to it. But I went down a rabbit hole once and I saw a bunch of dudes with like burned faces.
Well, can't you not, like, if you've already shown your gray, like if they've already seen it, then it's like
you can't go back.
Can't, like, yeah, if you like tomorrow show up and you're just trying to be normal, and just we both have just very black beards, and we're like, hello.
Well, we thought about doing that for Sober October because like all of us are going bald. Oh, well, I'm fully bald, but like Ari's pretty bald, Tom's bald, Bert's going bald. Like we should wear wigs. It's just like for the whole month. Yeah. The whole month you have to wear like a wacky toupee.
Yeah.
Get one glued on.
Just
you have to wear it They make fucking good ones though. I know some guys who have toupees, and you're like, damn, I can't even tell. Like I guess it's called a lace front, where the front, you know, like your hairline, like I can see through to your scalp, and that's how it looks in the beginning, and then the rest of it is all filled in.
I don't think I'm a good toupee. I don't think I could tell. Like, I'm saying, I fall for it. Like,
because you have a full head of hair.
Yeah. Oh, so that's why. Okay, that's how you know.
Just for men's hair dye, users report allergic reactions. Yeah, see if you can find some images, because there were some gross images of like dudes with like burns on their face, like chemical burns all over their face. But they might have used some wacky shit.
And that's where you go do that, just to they go, oh, we're going to pass. We're not going to take you.
As someone who's dyed their hair before, you are supposed to check your skin to see if you have an allergic reaction before you do everything.
Isn't your face like
such a dude thing? They go, I'll be all right, dude.
What is going on with that guy over there?
This one?
The one to the right of that.
Oh, man.
What is happening with him?
Oh, he still has the dye on.
Oh, it goes horrifically wrong. Okay, he dyed his beard for his girlfriend. Man's girlfriend dyed his beard. Oh, boy. Let's pretend you're 20. Oh, yeah, that's what I saw.
And he's like, is this what you wanted?
You fucking asshole.
Is this what you wanted?
You've done to my face. Yeah, what if that shit's permanent? Dude, that's fucking... Well, I don't remember, but Brody Stevens had his face lasered, because Brody's a hairy motherfucker. His hair would go like a wolf, all the way up to his eyeballs. And so he got his cheeks lasered off, and someone burnt a hole in his fucking cheek. I think it was bad, man. He was super self-conscious about it. And Brody was already like struggling with depression. He was very upset by it. The guy, like, he had a hole in his face, like it was like a large divot, where this guy had fucking burned a hole in his face, removing his face.
And it just burns the hair off permanently.
Yeah, it's like girls do it with their cooter.
Yeah, I want to do it with guys could do it on their back.
Yeah.
I don't have a ton of hair on my back, but
I
it's
got
enough.
a ton of hair on my back.
Do you shave it?
My wife shaves it. I can't
Yeah.
shave it myself, obviously.
Yeah. There's a thing that supposedly I've never done it,
You
but
can get a mess patch.
yeah, and they just have like a. You're like, what's that? You go swimming, and it's just the
Go to
weirdest.
the beach. It's a fucking weird question.
It's
mark
worse
on your
than
back.
having a full back hair.
Yeah.
It's just like this weird.
I don't mind my back hair. It doesn't bother me at all. I
Why?
like
Yeah,
it.
you did. I had my wife shaved it when we went to like once. It is nice when you don't have it. I think about it some, but then you're like, I don't know. But then
Yeah.
you forget about it, and you're like, where am I with my shirt off? Like, my shirt's not off enough to commit to it.
Right.
It's not like in a situation where I'm like super worried about it.
Yeah. Well, a back hair doesn't bother me. Chest hair doesn't bother me either. My pubes can get a bit unruly,
Yeah.
but that's where Manscaped comes in.
Yeah.
They've developed a razor specifically for your ball sack.
Yeah, that's good.
Manscaped has
Yeah.
they call it the lawnmower.
Yeah.
It's just for your sack. It's nice.
You have a cigar in your.
Do I?
Yeah.
Where is it at?
Well, it's right in the middle now.
Did I get it?
I think so. We'll find out in a little bit.
I have a tiny little gap there.
I think everybody has a gap.
No, yeah.
Do they?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
no?
Did I got it?
Yeah, you're good now.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's the gray hair thing is a weird thing because like women don't like it at all. They do not like going gray. But a guy can go gray and
Yeah.
it like makes him look like a man of distinction. He's
It
got
works.
experience.
Well, I think if everybody gradually lets themselves go whatever they want to go, it's like if you let everything go. Like I was thinking about it. Like sometimes you say, I just saw a thing of just because someone posted some of Diane Keaton. She looks unreal. Like, but and she's got to be 70 something.
Well, let me see a picture of Diane Keaton. Well, look about Keanu Reeves' girlfriend. Like she's full gray hair.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's full head of gray hair. Looks great. I think like that looks good.
Yeah.
I think that looks better to me than this shit.
Yeah.
Your face
yeah,
is
I don't
pulled
know.
back.
Yeah, I think if she does something, it's like it makes it look very natural.
She looks like a healthy older woman.
Yes.
Who's lived a long life. You
Yeah.
know, that's good. I like it.
Yeah. Dress is
Yeah.
very fun.
What does that say about Ellen DeGeneres? Did Ellen cunt over her? Oh, she says the set exudes happiness. Oh,
All right.
she was nice to her.
Never mind. I guess let's take it all back. They let Ellen run it back. I'll be honest with you, run it back, Ellen.
She's Diane Keaton should come back and pretend she's an assistant, put on a mask, and
See how it goes.
like, oh, I meet the real Ellen
Yeah.
now.
He goes, "What's that?" Ellen she gets hit in the bat with the back of the head. What was that?
Hey, cunt, where's my fucking coffee?
Yeah. Oh, it's a little different.
Isn't it funny how that like people found out that she wasn't that person, and they freaked?
But they're watching the show. Like they let her have a very long, gradual. That's what I don't understand. It was people got mad, and then it was like, all right, take your time on the way out.
Yeah.
Do a farewell season, and you're like, oh, I thought y'all like hated her. Like I thought it was bad. But
Well, I think it was probably sometimes bad, and those sometimes bad moments, when you rack them up over 14 years or whatever the fuck it was she was doing her show, that looks horrible. You know, she probably had some rough days. Look, she's a fucking performer. And also she grew up a gay woman. She's probably got fucked with, and she probably felt discrimination, a lot of shit. She probably harbors some resentment. Man, who knows what her
great
deal
comedian
was.
too.
And there's also very good comedian. And also there's this thing where you kind of get away with it. Because when you're on a set, like you know what it's like everybody's like, if you're the star of the show, everybody comes to you with a bagel and coffee and they kiss your ass. And if you're susceptible to that, if you don't self-audit, you can get sucked into that and start thinking you're that fucking person.
It's wild. I shot a pilot. I mean, I even see it sometimes on the road, but it's like I shot a pilot, and it was, you have like people that are they're like, it'll be like they bring you want Starbucks. You can say anything. Anything you
Barbecue.
want.
Get me barbecue.
I want a
Yeah.
You want barbecue. I want whatever you want. You're like, I want to drive a Nissan Sentra today, and
Yeah.
someone will go Figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
And if you don't, like you said, if you don't self-audit, if you don't realize this is crazy, and that's what I always like. You got to have like, I got a lot. I still talk to like all my high school buddies and stuff like that. But you need people that are going to be regular people. So you can't, if you're like, hey, do you want to go to Alaska tomorrow? And you need someone that's like, I got like a job and stuff and like my family and I can't.
Yeah.
You know, that's insane that you want to go do something like that. You're like, that is insane. That is insane that I said that, and I needed to be reminded, because you can get a little squirrely because your hours are different, and you're just like, "What are you doing tomorrow? You want to go caving?" And they're like, "I gotta
work, man.
I gotta work, dude. My
daughter has fucking cheer
she got
practice.
cheer. Then I got the dentist. I go,
My
what?
son's got little league. What
It's
the fuck are you talking
Tuesday.
about?
What is your life,
You're
dude?
going to
You're like,
Alaska?
that is right.
You're gonna get eaten by
Thank
a bear,
you.
and I'm gonna
Yeah.
be like, foul ball.
And then they ask you, they're like, do you want to go out to dinner on Saturday night? Are they, are you out of your mind? Saturday night, so I can't work. It's the only time I can't go.
Yeah.
Would you like to go to lunch at 12 a.m. on a Wednesday? And they're like, what?
That's the one thing about comics, that you hang out with people that have that wacky schedule, and you get accustomed to that. You wind up texting your friend at 2 o'clock in the morning. He's like, bro, why the fuck are you texting me? I'm sleeping.
Oh, and you have no. You're like,
oh,
yeah,
why are
I'm
you
so-"
asleep at 2?
Yeah, you're like, who are you, dude?
Did you not do a late show?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
And you get so used to like waking up late too.
If I texted a comic at 10 and they like were like, oh, I fell asleep, I would be like, so you quit comedy?
Yeah.
I guess that's your way of telling me. Because how are you?
Yeah. There's a sadness when people quit comedy. You know, when someone's good and they quit comedy, I get bummed out, man. I really do.
Who quit? Like,
I don't want to name names,
Oh,
but
yeah.
quite a few friends.
oh, like
that
in
were pretty good.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
guys who were opening acts for me,
mm-hmm.
who I felt like had some potential, and they just, you know, for whatever reason.
Just
And
kind of
a lot of times they get sucked into the business. They want to be writers. And there's a good living in being a writer, so you know you'll be getting those steady paychecks. But you know, there's a few guys that I think literally are some of the best comics in the world. But Owen Smith, you know Owen Smith
Mm-hmm.
from L.A.
Mm-hmm.
That motherfucker is one of the best comics on earth. He is so funny and so polished and so likable. He's such a nice guy and so smart. And I'm always blown away that guy is not headlining arenas all over Owen Smith should be headlining arenas all over the world. He's a fucking assassin. But he's a showrunner. He's doing these things.
Yeah.
But he knows. Like,
Which is a crazy thing to go be, is a
look,
showrunner.
he's very successful. It's not a bad thing that he's doing well in Hollywood. But I feel like as a comic, I feel like it just sucks that he's not recognized for this one thing that he does so well. He's so funny, man.
Yeah, I try to think, like, seeing guys stop. They do become writers.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen a lot of comics that they come up and they're, I mean, like, really be doing spots. Like, you're like, it's not like it's like someone half doing it. It's
Right,
like
killing
and fully doing it, and then they go and they get into writing. But I think people find their, you know, so you just kind of find whatever lane.
Yes.
That you're kind of like, all right, well, then this seems the path for me in this scene. Like, that's like auditioning. I learned, like, all right, well, I'm going to have to either write a show for myself or just be a stand-up and, like, just be this. Because I don't do well trying to be someone else. Or I'm doing these auditions. It's embarrassing. I mean,
Right.
you know, it's like, I mean, some of them, I emailed a lady and apologized because it was so bad. I was like, I shouldn't have been in there because I had to like
You
act.
emailed her? What a nice guy you are.
Well, she was very nice, and she was always like bringing me into stuff because I always get brought in because it's like I talk different. Like I think in theory they want like me to it's like, yeah, this guy's different.
Yeah.
And then I go show them that it's like, it's not going good. And and then they're like, that's not what we thought. I was like, yeah. And then, so I emailed her and apologized.
I had the luckiest run in Hollywood of all time because I only auditioned for 2 shows and I got both of them.
You're the news radio and...
No, a show called Hardball and then a show called News Radio. So I did Hardball. Wow. It was a show on Fox. I did that. And then I went from Hardball, I went to News Radio.
Wow.
So it was like I was working like right away.
How long was Hardball on?
Real quick.
Oh.
6-7 episodes. It was a disaster. It was an interesting situation though, because the guys who wrote it, they were really Jeff Martin and Kevin Curran, I think those are names, really funny guys who wrote on The Simpsons, and they wrote on Married with Children, and they were really funny. But they were like kind of introvert writer guys who were really cool and just like kind of nerdy, but fucking great writers. And then Fox bought the pilot. We did a pilot, me and Jim Brewer. Jim Brewer was on it with me, and Jim and I were good buddies.
Yeah.
So we had a great fucking time. And Mike Starr from Goodfellas was in it, and a couple other people. And we did this pilot, and it got picked up. And then when it got picked up, they were like, yeah, but you guys can't be a showrunner. You don't know what you're doing. Like, we're going to bring in a real showrunner. And they brought in this showrunner who just butchered the thing, just turned it into this shitty, like, cut and paste, copy paste sort of of a sitcom. And it was terrible, and it got canceled.
That's why you need Owen Smith to go be a showrunner.
Yeah,
you actually need people that's
right.
going to go in there and
in that case,
in that scenario.
Well, we needed those guys. Jeff and Kevin should have been the guys who it was their idea.
Yeah.
Like they were baseball fans, and they had this idea of doing this baseball sitcom, and that was what it was.
Phil Rosenthal had that with Everybody Loves Raymond. They tried to get someone else to show run him, and he was like, no. He just was like, we just won't. He was going to quit. It was like, and just stood his ground. They said, all right.
Thank God. I got news radio because they fired Ray Romano.
Oh, yeah.
Ray Romano was the original character that I played.
Yeah.
So they fired Ray. Luckily, they fired Ray during the pilot. And then they hired another guy during the pilot to play my part. And then they fired him. So I wasn't taking Ray's job. I was taking the guy who took Ray's job because I was friends with Ray.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, sometimes something like that will happen and you think it's the fucking end of the world. But for Ray, it was like the greatest thing that could have ever happened to him because then he went on to do his own thing and it was fucking brilliant.
Yeah. That's interesting to, like, just with that pilot I shot. Like, you see, like, so they have to fire people. And, like, you know, like, you think about, like, the kid actors. If, like, they're not doing, you got to go tell a 7-year-old, like, it's, all right, that's enough.
Yeah.
And it's over. And you're like, this is a brutal world. I always think that with the pilots, too. Like, that's what's crazy with TV is you go, they spend $1 million, $2 million on a pilot, and then they say no. And you're like, well, they shot it like it's a real TV show.
Yeah.
There's hundreds and probably thousands of TV shows.
Yeah.
With huge actors.
Yeah, that never went anywhere.
You're like, how do you not, like, put those at? Like,
Yeah.
I thought someone said on Twitter once, it was like, you should have a channel that's like a pilot channel, and you're just like, these are the shows that didn't, and then just see what they do. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like, there's an episode, or there's this, and
Yeah.
how do you not use that?
Well, there probably could be a channel of all failed pilots where they could show them all.
I mean, you would see unbelievable amounts of, like, the people that became huge stars that did these pilots that went nowhere.
It's hard to do one of those things, man. To put together an actual pilot and have it come out and be a real show, that's a grind because you got a lot of moving pieces. You got a lot of different executives and they all have their own little hot takes on how things should, like, people aren't funny at all. And they'll come in and tell you, Nate, I like what you're doing, but I wish you were just a little bit more active.
Yeah.
Like maybe like you come in, you're jogging in place, you're like distracted, like, and you're like, what? Like, what do you, and then do I have to listen to this? And then the showrunners have to meet with the executives, and the executives want to bring in a gay friend, and they want to bring in a handsome guy, and there's all these different, like, pieces that get shoved into the mix. So many cooks in the kitchen. It's amazing how many shows come out good at all.
Oh, it's borderline impossible that a show could get made. They'd always, a big one when I would write the shows, they'd always talk about conflict. And so you turn it in, they're like, we just don't know where the conflict is. And I was going to be like, everybody has cancer. Everybody. Everybody on the show. Is that good? Still show done exactly like it is, but everybody's got cancer. One person has a gun. Just like, that's the conflict of the show.
There always has to be conflict, but, you know, I mean, really it's just about interactions. It's just about funny interactions. Like,
It's the cast is a big part of it.
Yeah.
You have to believe that cast. You have to everything kind of does have to come together, but they get in. You know, when the one I shot was a multicam, And so they always want to do a multicam. Like I would always take out multicams or write multicams because it's like in theory they want to do these multicams because they're cheaper and they're all this stuff. But then you're going to pitch it to someone that's not watching a multicam. Like they don't watch it. So they're watching all these, single camera shows or everything that's cool. So then they see the multicam because their business side of their minds wants this cheap way to make a show. But then when they go to make the decision, they're like, well, I don't like that, the way it looks or something. You're like, I'm doing this because you told me to write it this way.
Right.
And then, but you're only watching this other thing.
Yeah.
But weirdly enough, those multicams are the ones that are still on. Seinfeld, News Radio, is that still on? Like it's
yeah, you can watch it.
It was on forever. Like
on stuff.
Look at all the these, Seinfeld, King of Queens, Raymond. These shows are monsters still today.
But they don't do them anymore.
No,
do they?
But no.
Is there
no, that's what I mean.
How many of them are on TV
Big
now?
Bang Theory was the last probably giant one.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's one. Netflix had the one with Ashton Kutcher.
What did they do? What was that?
Multicam.
Oh, that was the old show that they brought back.
Yeah.
What the fuck was that?
I forget what it was called. But it was...
70s show, right? Wasn't it?
No, they brought that back. No.
The Ranch or something
The Ranch.
like that, maybe?
Oh,
The
what is
Ranch.
that? I don't even know what that is.
I guess it's...
on family on the ranch.
I'd hope it's about a ranch.
Did you ever watch...
Surprisingly, not about a
sitcoms?
ranch.
Yeah, sure.
What did you watch?
Everything. I grew
When
up
you were
watching,
young?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
News
like as
Radio,
an adult.
Seinfeld.
Right, did you watch
Oh.
anything as an adult?
When would I have stopped? No, I stopped watching stuff probably like, I was in college and high school.
Do you go
I-
back and watch Seinfeld?
I remember I watched Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I'm like, well, this is the end. Because this is so good, they're never going to go back to doing it the other way.
There's The Ranch.
The Ranch.
Yeah, but they did...
That's a sitcom.
Yeah, but I still go back and watch... I still go watch Seinfeld and Raymond. And
Right, but do you watch it like...
I watch Seinfeld every day.
What is that donuts thing? What the fuck is
I
that?
don't have any idea. I mean, it's just
Oh,
I don't know where
yeah.
all these are coming up. Paramount
Superior
Plus.
Donuts,
Yeah.
2017. Get the fuck out of here. Judd Hirsch. There's just some of those shows. It's like, where did that go? Like,
It's
what
like
is
the Miss
that?
Pat show. Isn't that a multicam show? It's
Yes,
on BC.
that's a very good show.
Yeah.
Miss Pat show's a very good show. That is fucking funny. And I was like, when Miss Pat was saying she was going to do a sitcom, I'm like, God damn it, she's so raw. Like, have you ever done a podcast with her?
No.
One of the funniest fucking human beings that's ever
Yeah.
lived. She's so funny, and her story is so crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
She was pregnant at 14 with a crack dealer's baby. Like, she was selling crack. Like, she got one of her nipples shot off. Like, she's crazy,
Yeah.
and she's hilarious. And they nailed it. They figured out how to but they also did it on streaming, where it's on BET Plus, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's on something else now too.
Yeah, I just saw it too. I don't know exactly.
Isn't
what
it on
is, though.
Paramount?
I don't know.
It's on something else, but find out what it's on.
I'm checking. That's last year.
It's renewed for a second
This
season.
was last year.
So that's
It's-
where stand-ups thrive in a multicam because there's an audience.
She's so powerful, man. She's such
Yeah.
a powerful performer, and it's just like, she's funny too, man. There was like this one girl that was on stage at the Comedy Store one night, and she was kind of like half-assing her set, and Miss Pat was angry. She's like, this bitch is up there fucking barely even fucking trying. Like, what the fuck is she doing? Get the fuck off that stage. Like, she was like legitimate. Like, she's such a force when she gets on stage, and she goes for it. She had a hard life, you know?
Yeah.
So when she sees someone like lazy, she gets crazy.
Yeah.
It was kind of
And
hilarious.
that's a thing that's filtered into. It's nice to like you see that Miss Pat energy where you're like, yeah, this is a show.
yes.
Whatever you think, like if you're like, well, we're at the Comedy Store, we're working out. You're like, the audience paid,
Right.
and they're spending a lot of money to come out.
Right.
I'm sorry you're not at Madison Square Garden at the moment, but this is like, when is it enough that you go and like do your act and go do and like actually, I don't know.
She got a season 3. Look at that. But it is on somewhere else too, right?
It is available a few other places, but this was the news. She got like a bigger deal with BET to do
Oh,
more,
wow.
more stuff than just this.
I
Dude,
had her on-
comics are good at scripted show.
Yes.
All the ones I'm talking about, they're all comedians.
Yes.
And there's your proof that I think people still want this because it's something that you can put on, and it's not this full on. Every show can't be like this whole thing. When you want to watch something, you're like, I'm like love Narcos, but I haven't watched the last season because you're just like, I love it so much, but you're like, I can't dive into 10 hours of just this again. Murder. Like and I got to follow everything. And then I'm like, who's that guy? And you're like, I can't. And then, so I watch Seinfeld, or like, I just watch something that I'm watching old movies or, all this kind of stuff that you're like, I can kind of mindlessly kind of watch. I don't feel like I have to be too involved in it because it's too much. There's too much of it that you end up going. That's why I believe like The Office and so, like these shows are the most popular shows on these streaming because people are like, I just want to like
just veg.
Yes.
Yeah, people like to do something that's like simple and that takes them away. I said that I was watching with my family during the pandemic. We were watching that Ali Wong show. There's a show that Ali Wong is like one of this girl's neighbors. She's like this overweight mom, and there's the guy who's the husband who's like a professor. And it was like a simple sort of sitcom-y, pretty funny. I could watch it, with my 10-year-old and we could laugh. You know, it was like nothing too crazy. It was like, it's a vibe, right? Like a sitcom.
It's stuff
vibe.
for families.
Yeah.
You got to think TGIF, when that was on, that was about you and your family going around and watching TV, and you watch all Friday night.
Thank God it's Friday, yeah.
Stuff for families, I feel like a lot of TV now can separate even the wife and the husband. It's, my wife watches all the housewife shows. And, and then I'm watching, Narcos or murder. Yeah, like and she's watching shows How to Murder Me. And then she watches all that
Why
stuff.
do women watch those fucking shows?
Just an out for an out.
But
they can figure like the one day they go in it because when it finally gets to it.
But they like watching like murder shows and murder mystery shows where it's like real crime, like where they're talking about like serial killers. It's like mostly women watching those. Do you think they're trying to like understand like what makes a male murderer? Is that what it is? Because they're not that.
I feel like they're nosy. They're can't even let a serial killer live his own life. He's like, I'm just trying to do my killings in peace.
Yeah, I walked in. My wife and my daughter were watching this fucking documentary on that Richard Ramirez guy.
I think they like watching. I can get in moods where I want to watch that stuff, but I couldn't watch it every day. My wife records Dr. Phil, People's Court. We still have DirecTV. I have 150 People's Court. It's all her on the DVR. And it's like she watches like that. Those are what she'll watch, like kind of. I guess Dr. Phil's still on. Yeah. And so she watches Dr. Phil and then People's Court, and then she'll watch that kind of stuff.
I'm really good friends with Dr. Phil's son.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're buddies. We partied together, hung out together, go on vacations with our families together.
Yeah,
he's the best. He's a great guy. He's like, I always thought that like if you were the son of someone famous, you had to be fucked. He's so normal. He's a fucking super great guy.
I heard Dr. Phil's cool too.
He's the best. I had him in here. He was so fun. He was hilarious.
Yeah.
I asked him about the Cash Me Outside girl because like he made her famous. He's he's a.
Isn't she like a real business now,
bro? She's richer than me. That bitch is balling out of control.
Yeah.
She made like $100 million off of OnlyFans showing her asshole. How much did she make? Something crazy on OnlyFans.
That's insane.
Like she was like the #1 earner on OnlyFans. What is she doing? Yeah.
She posted the receipts, if you will.
Let me see. Let me see these receipts. Look at this. Bad Baby posts receipts to prove her $50 million OnlyFans earnings. Look, what the fuck, man?
See, she took a little video showing her in the app behind the scenes that only she could see. That shows her like revenue.
That's wild.
Jesus Christ.
That's how much she's getting per month.
April, $7 million.
That's 100,000, I think.
700,000? Oh, $700,000 for April. That's incredible.
I mean, is that 10 million or that's
that's a million.
$1 million.
Down there. There's a period there. There's no.
Okay. There's no comments. So that's 1 million.
That was getting higher and higher.
$239 million a day.
Yeah.
I don't know how to read.
3 million down there.
August, she made $2 million in August, $3 million in July, 4.6 in June. That's crazy.
Balling.
She's balling. And what is she doing on there? We should join. Can we join? Why don't we join OnlyFans just to see her? Go do it on your computer. Go ahead, do it.
There's better ways to spend money.
How much does
I was
it
talking about
cost?
people-
It turns out you can look up most of the stuff online.
Oh,
If
you
know
mean
what
It
it
was
Reddit? It was 4chan.
I've
4chan.
heard. I've heard.
What do you mean you've heard? You've seen it.
I looked.
Stop lying.
I wouldn't do that.
You do.
I don't know what 4chan is.
Really?
Yeah, I've heard about it. I hear people
Good for
say
you.
it.
Stay pure, Nate.
Yeah.
Stay off of
Is it a Reddit?
No. It's like Reddit on Adderall plus very little restrictions.
Yeah.
Is just wild people. Wild people stuck in cubicles that make the most ruthless and funny memes, and they say ridiculous shit, and they almost cause the insurrection of the Capitol. I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, that's the highlight of that film, the documentary series, Into the Storm, about QAnon. You aware of all? You know what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. That
I mean, so, like, you know.
Did you ever watch that documentary, the
No.
HBO thing? It's very interesting. It's called Into the Storm, and it's all about these people that get duped by these people pretending to be insiders in the Trump administration and saying how they're going to take down all the pedophiles, and Trump is running some secret covert operation and he's going to bring down the swamp, and they all bought into it hook, line, and sinker, and it leads up to the January 6th insurrection. It's pretty fucking wild.
Wow.
But it all starts on 4chan. 4chan, then 8chan, and then what was the other one? 8kun? Is that what it was?
Yeah, that sounds right. There's a lot of them.
I went in there the other day. I went in one of them. I think it was 4chan the other day. I just let me see what these psychos are up to. It's just fucking, It's madness, man. Because they're all anonymous. Everyone's anonymous, right? So you could post like the wildest shit. And it's basically shit posting, and they're saying things to try to be the most outrageous and try to freak each other out. It's freedom, right? It's like, it's not real life. It's anonymous. It's not even your name. It's like numbers, right? Like, who are you? Who knows? Say some crazy shit. So it's like people that fucking hate their job as insurance salesmen, and they'll just type wild shit. So here's 4chan right now. 4chan is a simple image-based bulletin board where anyone can post comments and share images. So let's find something in there. Go to careful. Let's something controversial. Let's go with controversial. Creative, other, business, finance, travel, LBGT, pony, random.
I mean, is everything controversial in here?
Adult.
It can be.
Yeah. Super. It's like, what would be like a good thing to check into that's like extreme? Politically incorrect. Bam. Let's go to that one. Politically incorrect. Accept. You have to accept. Comply with the rules. I like how it says rules in quotes, because there's very few fucking rules. The rules of 4chan, which are also linked in the homepage. Okay, what kind of crazy shit are these people posting? What are they talking about? Mass shootings?
Fire festival.
Pension for wearing your mother's clothes, perhaps? Or have you gone straight to walking? Yeah, see, like whacking off to old school photos of your classmates. See, look, everyone is anonymous, right? So they're all just like typing wild shit. And scroll down lower. It's if you had it's mostly young men or older men with families.
That's our housewives?
Yeah.
Is these...
Man, I bet there's some fucking housewives in there too. But I think it's...
No, I'm saying that's what our wives watch Housewives, and then their husbands are there.
Yeah, I think it's mostly disenchanted people, and they're attracted to this idea that they're completely anonymous. And then they could just have this community of people who are faceless, nameless, and they just talk wild shit to each other.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, I guess that appeals. I guess you're going to be appealed to it more and more as the younger, as you grow up in this world.
Well, I think for people, it's a way to communicate without any boundaries, without completely being uncensored and without any repercussions, because they're uncensored. But there are repercussions. Like, I remember there was this one guy that was posting a bunch of wild shit, awful shit on 4chan, and then people found out who he was, and he got fired from his job. And he was just a normal guy, and his take was like, hey, that's not really me. This is I'm almost playing a character. This is fantasy for me. It's fun. Just because I wrote those things, those are not my real thoughts. And they're like, get the fuck out of our office.
Yeah.
They just fired him. Which is interesting, right? Because, he's not...
Because if he wrote a movie...
Right.
And did all that, he could win an Oscar.
Right. Like you can have a movie where it's a celebrated movie where a man beats a woman to death, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like, spoiler alert, there's a scene in there where Brad Pitt beats a woman to death on a fireplace, smashes her head.
Yeah.
It's fucking wild. But like, if you talked about that on stage, like people would be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" You know, if you wrote that in a post on 4chan, and then your employer found out about it, you get fired. Which is very strange.
Yeah.
I think now that I'm thinking about it, I think the guy might have done something really shitty. I think he might have doxed someone or something, and then they got rid of him. But it's just people think that that's you have like a opportunity to just be free of expectations. Because like, oh, you're Mike, the fucking general manager of the fucking muffler shop, but meanwhile you're on 4chan posting pictures of giant black dicks and fucking wild shit, but it's.
But could they get rid of that with like if everybody had to have their real name online or something?
Yeah,
like that?
it would ruin everything.
Yeah,
it would ruin that kind of community.
Yeah,
because that's not really real life. I mean, maybe some of those people have those real thoughts. Maybe some of those people are just, playing, like they're having fun, pretending to be complete fucking assholes. And then mixed in are real sociopaths, real psychos who gravitate towards this and are trying to find like the most disturbing images of mass murder and throw those up too.
Yeah. So do you think there ever be a phase where you have online real identity, or does that get...
I think that will probably come about when there's no more privacy.
Yeah,
which I think is on the way. I think privacy is going to go out the window. I think that is the general direction where online life and technology are headed, to the point where everyone has access to almost everything. If it's on, if you're doing it online, I think everyone's going to have access to it. And it's going to be very difficult to hide behind like fake identities and things like that. Like
that can make you like that stuff. It's like I feel like the older you get too, like you start thinking, like you're seeing people like you don't want to live in a city. You want to live like away from like land. Like you want to buy. I think about that more now. Like you're just like I want to buy some land somewhere.
Well, that's you want peace.
Yeah.
You get older, you're just like, what am I doing?
It is. That is.
Tired.
Yeah.
This is all fucking stupid shit. I want to wake up and hear birds chirping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see, like, you can see somewhere like 70, you're like, I don't care about anything. And you're like, I get how you would be there.
Yeah.
Because you just stop caring.
Well, you just get overwhelmed by external information and you don't want it anymore. And you get to put, you know what I'd like? I'd like to go out in just a field and have lunch.
Yeah.
Just sit there and have my lunch out there with birds chirping and shit and just relax. Relax and don't be inundated by external information constantly, which is what most of us are, especially if you're on your phone all day. You're just inundated with external information. Nonstop. I've cut out most of that in my life, and it's made a significant impact. Initially I stopped on Twitter because I was realizing that it's just it was disturbing me, like it was bothering me. And there's like so many hateful people, so many angry people. I'm like, I don't like this. And I don't think like this is like genuinely constructive. I don't think they're getting anything done. It doesn't. It just seems like they're just like monkeys throwing shit at each other. I'm like, this is a terrible environment to like have your mind exposed to. And so when I stopped doing that, it helped me tremendously. It was like a giant weight lifted off my shoulders. First thing I stopped doing is reading my own mentions. Like years ago, I stopped reading things that people were writing about me, and that was nice. I stopped reading comments on YouTube. That was nice. And then I stopped reading people. I'm like, occasionally I'll go into Twitter like once or twice a day just to say like, what's the zoo look like? Like, oh, look, monkeys throwing shit. And then I just get out of there. Yeah. But it's not, I don't think it's a healthy environment. It's just, there's so much, you did this and you said that and fuck you and you should go to jail and we should try him for treason and this person should fucking. just like, isn't there more to life? It's not balanced.
But I think it's almost like the people on that world, we've given them the keys to the city, and you're like, that's nobody. That's literally a small, tiny group of people that are just living this world. The majority of them are just like when you go do live shows and you're like, yeah, dude, people
Normal
are just
people.
going out.
Yeah.
People are just going out to shows and they love shows and they have fun, and whatever city that you think could be left or right or whatever it is, the crowds are awesome and they're excited to be there and it's just fun. And then it's the acknowledgement of like, but all these people are saying all this. You're like, it doesn't matter what they're saying. That website's saying that, so don't go look at that website.
Right.
It's not even remotely. You couldn't even go. We go walk and randomly find people.
Well,
and
we found one last night. That lady who yelled at Tony.
Yeah, they get sucked in. So it's not that they don't exist, but you got to think that's one person out of all those people.
Right. Well, that's representative, right? Because that's one person out of 270 people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's pretty normal. But if you get the whole country, that's millions of people. Like if you have one out of 100, and then you have 300 million people, you got 3 million fucking crazy people. And if they're on social media and they're complaining on Facebook and you read their fucking posts like, oh, you'll think this is the whole world. But this is a small percentage of people who are perpetually outraged and who engage in recreational outrage. Like that is part of the way they spend their day, is being upset about things all day long. It's not constructive. It's not good for you. I think it's very bad for your anxiety and your psyche. And
Oh, yeah.
it's a shit way to communicate, because even if you were talking to a person, I firmly believe that if you were talking to a person that you really disagreed with, but you were civil and calm and peaceful, and you talked to them in like a normal way, you could probably avoid any kind of like name calling and shit. It's things that people do when they don't see your face, they're not looking at you, they don't feel bad if they insult you, and they just do it like they're just sending a fucking carrier pigeon off with this shitty note. And not knowing like who's going to receive it or how it's going to affect them. And
Imagine those old days, like you wrote something bad. I mean, 'cause it would take a month, right, to get that pigeon to get. You're like the weekend. You're like, I hope he does. I hope the pigeon dies. I shouldn't have sent that. We're about to start a war.
we'll send a hawk after that pigeon.
Yeah. That's their delete button. They're like, God, I shouldn't have. I wrote some crazy stuff last night.
That's Game of Thrones, right? Send a raven.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would send ravens.
Send a message.
Yeah.
That's how they would get all their messages.
Yeah.
Go back to those days.
I don't think that's
Were you
good
seeing
either.
people in the, like, I've started hiking.
Oh, yeah?
And, yeah, I've gotten pretty, we went to Calgary, and we went up to Banff. And we started doing some big, long hikes. And it's just like, it's just, you're like, this is the greatest thing I've ever done.
Nature.
Like, yeah.
And
It's the
exercise.
best.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Cleansing.
It's the absolute, just seeing, I like being outside.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of you're like, no one's, I mean, most hikes there's people on. I want to go somewhere where, like, how do you go to where, I want to go somewhere where you're like there's no one around.
Right.
Like, I know, like you, like hunting and stuff, right? Like you're going like out, but it's like going to those places where you're like, you're just in it, dude. This is the wild. That's why I like Bigfoot, like where you're like, there's so many places that we haven't even been to. There's just too many
think
places.
Bigfoot's real?
I do, but
Really?
I just want,
I want him to be real.
What do I care?
I went hunting for Bigfoot with Duncan.
See, I would love that.
Me and Duncan Trussell went hunting for Bigfoot.
How'd it go?
It wasn't effective. And one thing that I found out, well, I had a bit about it, about one thing you don't find when you go looking for Bigfoot is black people. You just find a bunch of unfuckable white dudes out there hunting for Bigfoot. You're more likely to find Bigfoot than you are black people looking for Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Like, they have not bought into that nonsense.
It's just our thing.
It's an unfuckable white guy thing. And we were joking around about that with the guys who were out there doing. They were laughing. They were like, yeah, it's like, I mean, it's fun, at the worst. He goes, this guy was like, had a really good perspective on it. He had a good sense of humor. Like, we were joking with him. He goes, look, worst case scenario, you're just out camping.
Yeah. And it's awesome.
And it's fun. And there's like seeing things.
And there's a goal.
Yeah.
Best case scenario, the world changes.
Right. You find an actual Sasquatch.
And Earth is different.
yes.
This thing, like, that's what I like. So the idea of going out and being, not that I know how. I talked about this in my podcast about bears, and I mean, no one get mad. Our podcast is stupid, but it's
What is it called?
Nate Land. It's just talking about being funny. But I thought because I started watching all this bear stuff. Because there's a grizzly bear like in Banff. They have a grizzly bear that comes down near the hotel. I don't know if you've been to Banff. There's a hotel, like a Fairmont hotel, and a grizzly bear will come down by the hotel. And there's so many people there, and they watch it, and like it's got 2 cubs, and I get it
That's
is what
so
it is.
dangerous.
Oh yeah, it is. And but then I thought we were talking about like running away from or if a bear attacks you, and I know you know how to do it, but what if a bear's running at you, you juke it. You know how they tell you, but listen, Joe. So the bear is coming quick, and then you go, hey bear, and then go the other way.
You know
His
what the bear does?
momentum
You know what he does?
falls forward and because he's dumb.
Nope. He turns and he catches you because he's
Okay.
used to doing that with deer that are a
'Cause
lot
they
faster
dive.
than you.
That's true.
They're
You know
gonna
what?
get you. You ever seen a bear run full clip? They
They
run like a car.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
Kobe Bryant jumped over a car.
He did. That's Kobe Bryant, and that's not you or me.
That's true. The bear is. But give him a nice. You
I got
don't
one
think
janky
you ever watch
knee and I
footage
can
of Barry
barely run.
Sanders?
Yes.
You don't think Barry Sanders could juke a bear?
I know Barry
All
Sanders
day?
couldn't juke a bear
All day long.
Nope. No, he'd be eaten. We'd have one less Barry Sanders.
Just. A
Bro.
bear doesn't know to watch your chest, and so he watches your head.
They don't give a fuck. You can't run.
But if
They'll
one's
find
coming
you.
at you, would you at least try to juke it?
I'd probably think, what have I done that I'm out here with no gun and a bear? That's what I would think. That'd be my last thought. You fucking dummy.
Yeah.
Why don't you have a gun on you?
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot
Guy, yeah.
Did you ever see Bobcat Goldthwait's Bigfoot movie? It's really good.
Oh, I would love
Bobcat
to watch
Goldthwait made, I think it's something Creek. What is it called? Woodland. What is it? Willow Creek? Yeah. It's a like a Blair Witch Project type movie
that. Oh.
about these guys who go. This guy and his girlfriend or wife go to try to find Bigfoot on the anniversary of the Patterson footage, which is like the most famous Bigfoot, fake Bigfoot footage. But it's and they film it like like they're doing like a fun sort of documentary type thing, and then they have an encounter, and it's good, man. It's good. It's it's a horror movie.
Yeah.
But it's like Bobcat is a bad motherfucker. He's a very underrated director. He made a couple really fucking good movies. Like there was one, Shakes the Clown, that was like about an alcoholic crazy clown. That was really funny, like really like dark movie. And then he made another one about something America, God Bless America or something.
Yep.
Is that what it was?
Exactly
It God Bless America? Yeah, that is another fucking wild, crazy movie from 2011. He made a couple fucking really good movies, man. Really underrated director, but Willow Creek is my favorite. It's fucking good. And as a person who's been obsessed with Bigfoot his whole life, I just my parents took me camping once when I was like 8 or something like that. When we first moved to California, we went camping in the redwoods, like out that area. And I remember thinking, like, there could be something living out here.
I mean, there's just nothing. I mean, no one's around there.
There's not enough
it's-
people around there, but the odds are it's not possible to hide something that big for that long. That you'd find a body, you'd find bones, you'd find something.
Yeah.
But you don't really find
knows?
dead mountain lions. Like, try finding a dead mountain lion. They die
Yeah.
all the time.
Well, they have like in Florida. They have pumas are very hard to see.
Well, they get hit by
Fun.
cars all the time in Florida.
Oh, well, never mind.
Yeah, they got like recently, like a ton of them have been hit by cars. Like I think there was like pumas are kind of endangered in Florida, which is really weird because I think recently on like in 1 month, 4 of them got hit by cars. See if you can find something about that. Which they're like, what the fuck is going on? Like, are there more of these than we thought? Like, what's happening here?
Yeah. What are the odds of that?
Yeah, but but pumas are, an established animal. To have like some cryptozoological creature like Bigfoot that's undetected, but it's fun.
It's fun.
I want to believe,
Yeah.
but I don't really.
Well, that's like in the ocean. Like they find some big fish, or some big whale, like extra, like some, and you're like, I don't know, dude. We never knew it was down there.
There's two.
Well, no, they think aliens could live in the ocean. So I mean,
Yes.
that's how much.
That was Jeremy Corbell was talking about
Yeah.
that the other day. That they, it's hard to say like what kind of information he's getting, how accurate it is, but they're basically saying, think about the movie Abyss where the aliens lived underwater. He was like, that's probably what's going on.
Yeah.
That there's some sort of alien base underwater or some meeting place, or that's where they hide. That's where they go to be undetected.
Do you think you're going to see it in your lifetime?
Bigfoot or aliens?
Aliens. Like, where it's like, oh, like we have to like talk to them now. We have to like interact with them.
There's a video that is impossible to ignore. There's some things that are impossible to ignore. And then there's eyewitness testimonies of people who are rock solid, totally dependable, like fighter pilots
Yeah.
who have seen some things. Like the best example is this guy, Commander David Fravor, who was off the coast of San Diego in 2004. And this is corroborated by multiple points of data. They had this tracking system that tracks things above Earth's atmosphere, and they found this thing went from above 60,000 feet above sea level to 50 feet above sea level in less than a second. They have no idea how it's doing this. They have no idea. There's no method of propulsion that's visible. They followed this thing. They locked onto it. It blocked their radar. It blocked their tracking systems, rather. And then it jetted off at an impossible rate of speed. And then the Nimitz relocated this thing at their cat point. The cat point is where the fighter pilots, when they're doing this test, they're doing this exercise, they were supposed to meet at this very specific point. And that's where this thing had gone. Like this thing had read their manifest and knew, like, or read their plans and knew where they were going.
What's wild?
That is way more compelling to me than Bigfoot. The Bigfoot thing is just fun, but the alien thing is fun and likely. There's something going on. And so I go back and forth. Sometimes I think maybe it's some sort of government drone that's like so sophisticated and it's totally top secret. And if we ever go to war with China, that's when they're going to break it out. And then sometimes I think what they are is something that's monitoring us and making sure we don't blow ourselves up, making sure that we make this journey from territorial apes with thermonuclear weapons into some sort of an advanced intergalactic society, and that there's a very crucial moment where the instincts of these tribal people, which is all of us, all human beings, are these tribal territorial people, where you have to keep them from sabotaging any possible future progress by blowing themselves up, by killing each other, by
What if we talk to
destroying the
them
Earth.
and then when you say that, they go, yeah, that was it. Is that easy? Like, not that easy, but like, you just go, is that it? You go,
Yeah.
that's about it.
We're
Yeah.
trying to keep you guys
That's
from
about
blowing
it.
yourselves up. This is like,
Yeah.
but maybe that's like the natural thing that you see, like when civilizations advance. Like there's a very precarious moment where like they have the capability of blowing themselves up, but the reason and the logic to not do it. But they also have these instincts to control resources and take over territories. They still have those instincts, but they have to bypass that. They have to figure out how to, and so that's when aliens start circling and just keeping an eye on us.
Yeah.
'Cause that's the
I mean,
primary.
that's what you would hope, right? Instead of like them attacking us.
Yes.
Because then it's over.
I think if they were going to attack us, they would have already done it. Like, if they really could do all those things, they could probably take out our power grid pretty easy. Apparently, the stories are that they're able to shut down nuclear launches and nuclear facilities, and that they do that, and they hover over military bases, and that they'll just shut everything down just to let you know, hey, bitch, I can
That's
just
wild.
flip
Yeah.
that switch. So
Yeah.
don't get too fucking squirrely out there.
That's
you
so
weirdos.
crazy thing that they, yeah. Because I always think about it too. If you lost everything, electricity, I mean, it just shuts everything down.
Yeah.
Then if everything gets shut down everywhere,
Yeah.
then it's a wrap.
Well,
Or
if
no
we
one's-
went out, if the power went out in this country for 2 weeks, it would be full, complete, total chaos.
All the work that's been done back
Yeah.
to zero.
Back to very dangerous times because there'd be very little food within a few days. If we had no refrigeration, no air conditioning, and no shipping, it would be very bad very quickly. Like there'd be a few people living on ranches that know how to survive, and a few people that know how to hunt and fish and have a good supply.
Yeah. See, that's what makes me want to. There's part of me that wants to go learn how to survive. Like when you get into hiking, and hiking I know is not surviving, but I've started watching more stuff that that are talk about surviving, or people go hunting. I watched I was listening to bear attacks because I just got once I heard about the grizzly bear, then I just go down. I just listen to only bear attacks.
I have several friends have been attacked by bears.
Yeah, I listened to
Steve Rinella.
Yeah, that's the one I listened to.
Remy Warren, Steve Rinella.
Could have juked it. It was behind him. No. But they those guys. But you see it when you start doing all that stuff and learning how to survive, because you're like, all right, if everything goes, because it's like the idea of being, you're just trusting that all this is going to turn on,
right? And
then if it doesn't, it's not good,
right?
And then you're gonna die, and so it's like that. Lately, you're just like, I'm nervous about. I don't like this is out of my hands.
Yeah.
So I need to get something back in my hands. I always thought that not compared to stand-up comedy, but in a way with stand-up was like at the beginning, like you put all the focus on a comedy club. I want to get past at this club. And then you're like, I don't want this club to have all my cards.
Right.
And if this club decides not to use me, and I've put 15 years in trying to do that, now I'm done. And so you want stuff spread out.
That's the problem with guys get a residency in Vegas.
Yeah.
Like George Wallace, who's fucking hilarious. George Wallace got a residency in Vegas when he was a top touring comic. He had a big name. He had been on television a bunch of times. And he got this residency in Vegas, and he was there for a long fucking time. And then he goes on the road now, and it's not commensurate. His audiences, it's not at the level that they should be.
Yeah.
And it's just because he spent so much time doing this residency instead of being like Brian Regan or some of these other guys who tour of his massive following all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have that anymore because he put all his eggs in that one basket.
Yeah.
That scares me.
Yeah, that scares me.
Yeah.
And you go do it maybe later.
Yeah.
That's like a move you make later.
The only guy I know who does it who's happy is Carrot Top. He loves it.
Yeah,
but he does other gigs too. He'll travel. I think he has a place in Florida too, so he goes down to Florida, and he'll do other gigs. He'll do casinos. He'll do stuff like that too. But he's happy, and he does really well.
Yeah, I think I'm a big fan.
I've
never seen him. I've never met him.
Guy, man. He's a great fucking guy, and he was a punchline for comics. They shit all over him for years.
Yeah, I never understood that because
I never understood it either.
It was like no one. I never knew because you're like, well, who's doing that? Like you're acting. People always think something's easy, so they always think they do the Larry the Cable Guy or something. They go, oh, I can go do that. You're like, then go do it and make $50 million.
Right.
Go do that if it's that easy.
Right.
You can't to get to that level. There's something else,
right.
And the work that they're putting in, it's beyond just that's an easy way. There's no easy way.
Well, Carrot Top told a story about Bill Hicks, because Bill Hicks used to shit on Carrot Top, and he had this bit about Carrot Top. That's for people who think Gallagher's too heady. But it was just a joke, and he met Carrot Top met Bill before he died, and Bill came to see his show, and Bill was sick, and Carrot Top met him. He goes, I thought you hated me. He goes, man, I don't fucking hate you. He goes, I don't hate anybody, man. I'm sorry. And they had a moment. Yeah. And it was just before Bill died, and he said, it was really cool. Yeah. But it was
it's a joke.
Yeah. It's just comedy, man. Yeah. And it's just it's a target. It's a cultural hot point. Yeah. Here's this guy, he's got fucking balloon animals, and he's holding up signs and shit. But it's funny.
It's a sign in a weird way that Carrot Top. That's how successful you are. Is that
right.
you are the one that is brought into this.
Right.
But I understand Carrot Top being he would probably assume everybody hates him.
Well,
And he's probably
Insulated.
alone. Yeah.
Yes, he's an island.
Yeah.
I always refer to certain comics as an island because there's certain comics that aren't hanging out with other comics. They're just on their own, or they're touring on their own, and maybe they have an opening act, or maybe they use a local act to open for them, but they don't have like a community. And it's one of the things I try to enforce in these guys coming up. I'm like, man, your community is everything. It's so important. Like whether it's the cellar or the store or here in Austin, like it's like having a community of a bunch of like really good comics live in the area. You get together, do shows, and laugh and joke around. Like that's so important for your psyche because there's not a lot of us out there. Real professional comedians that are really funny that you would want to pay to see. How many of them are there?
It's not a bunch. I mean,
A couple hundred
yeah,
in the world.
yeah.
You know, there might be, 500 really good comics in the entire country.
Yeah.
Like really solid headliners that could sell out a room in the country. There might be 500.
That could sell at a room.
Yeah.
I don't know.
200? 300?
I would 200 to sell out, like
Yeah.
to be a draw.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
To be like a solid headliner.
yeah.
Like when you become a real professional comic, like you can
Yeah.
be a professional comic
It's a lot.
in the process. Like you're almost doing an apprenticeship, you're a middle act, you're a host. You're kind of a professional comic and then
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
paying your bills.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Right, but you're not like headlining.
Yes.
Like to get to the point where you're headlining and people come to see you, how many of them though are those? How many of those
I bet
are
it's
there?
got to be closer to the 200.
Yeah.
I guess you can go a little bit, maybe it's more than 200. I get probably that 2 to 5.
Let's
in
get
that
crazy
range,
and
but
say it's 1,000.
it's 8.
Let's get crazy.
Let's
and say
go.
it's
I thought
1,000.
we the opposite 4.
Okay. Let's
All
get
right,
crazy.
1,000.
1,000. That's out of 330 million.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
It's nuts.
That's a rare group of humans, and we got to stick together.
I love that. I think that's when I go on the road. I bring I have 2 openers, and it's all different ages of Mike Vecchione I started with will come out with me some, and and then it's guys that are younger, Dustin Chafin that I started with, then guys that are younger, and it's like you mix it up, and it's about the hang.
Yeah.
That it's like nice to know what's going on in the comedy world. You kind of somewhat need to, you're aware of what's happening.
Yeah.
So you're not just clueless. And then to be around each other and just like making jokes and
Yeah.
like being funny. Like you're being funny the whole time.
Right.
We going hiking now. When I go hiking, it's just being funny the whole time. It's
Like
just
last night
jokes.
in the green room. How much were we laughing?
A ton. Because it's just being funny. And you're like,
Yeah.
that hang is what it's all about.
Yes.
You just want to go
yes.
sit there and you trash each other, you trash
Yeah.
someone, and then that's what people lost with that COVID. They were not around that.
Yes.
And you realize like, oh, I got to go be around this dude or I'm going to lose everything. And then people lose it when they leave. New York had it when I was there and it was so much, but then you leave and you start touring, you start headlining.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easily to be like, you could go, oh, I haven't seen anybody in
months.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just not. It's not good for us, and it promotes this sort of alienation and these feelings of anxiety that I think got really ramped up during COVID with a lot of people. Unfortunately.
You need to see someone. You need to be around people that see through you.
Yeah.
So like if you're being funny with your friends, it's like that are not comics. It's like, well, they know you're the comic and they're watching kind of a show. You need to be funny with your friends that are a comic that are like, you're like, dude, well, you're the worst, and they see through you like, all right. They go, why did you say that? You're like, I
I'm
don't
generally not the funny person when I go out with like friends that aren't comics. I just talk. I just have fun. My wife is way funnier than me.
Yeah.
Like when we go out, because my wife like wants to make me laugh and wants to make other. It's like her chance to do stand up.
Yeah.
Like she's always the one who's like calling shit out, and it's fun.
Yeah, my wife's funny too. Like it is work like that because you try to make jokes, but then it's just a weird kind of thing. And then with comics, I think sometimes jokes can be too pointed they're too harsh. They can be too, why are you wearing that?
Yeah, you could
And
say
then
that
the
to me and I'd
person's like-
start laughing.
Yeah.
But you say that to some people and they get like really fucked up.
Yeah.
They get really
Like,
insecure.
why would you say that?
And then the wife will send you an email. I just want you to know that Claude was actually upset that you said that about his shirt. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with Claude?
Yeah. What's he talking about? What's he? I can imagine getting an email from a wife. Like,
You know that kind of shit happens.
I know, I think
you're
it
like,
does, but
"Ugh."
I would be, if I got an email, like I'm trying to think for my neighbors, and we're friends with our neighbors. If they emailed me, I'd be like, what are you doing, dude?
Right. Would you go
Why-
knock on their door?
Yeah.
Apologize?
Because I don't know about Paul, but a
Would you go-
comic, we would have to address it.
Right.
We would have to go, well, I got to go I have to go fix this.
Right.
Solve it, fix it. You want them to know that you know, like you don't want it to be this weird
Right.
kind of
Well,
thing.
some people you have to leave it weird
Yeah.
because it never ends. Some people they're just perpetually.
But you don't think you would ever just eventually be like, why did you're at a dinner somewhere and you're like, I don't like your slippers. You just say, he's like, in 7 months. And they're like, what? And you go,
Some people are just fucking super sensitive, man. They just can't take joking around, and they don't joke around in their home. You
I
know?
tend to want to go try to open that person up. And I'm not saying to take jokes, but I would tend to side with that person then.
Right.
Like you end up going like, all right, if this person doesn't like this, then I'll be on her team. And if someone goes at her, or him, I'll be on their team.
Right. You'll be the person
I'll
who
be with
fucks
them.
with the other person.
Yes.
Yes.
So you want to make them, because if you're like, I know
Yeah.
that they're going to be uncomfortable. I feel like as comics, you just you got to go to the underdog, and you go like,
Right.
I'll side with you,
Right. Right.
just because you're going to get teamed up on.
Yeah.
And so I'll just be on your, let's do it. Let's make it uncomfortable for everybody.
Well, it's also so many people have been told that their feelings are valid, and it's important to validate someone's feelings. But some feelings are stupid.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
Some of your oversensitivity is just ridiculous.
Well, people talk like, being very open. It's like you got to talk about this stuff. And it is some of it's weird. Where you're like, I'll just eat it up on the inside. And then go. I don't need to go.
Yeah.
I don't need to go openly talk about stuff. And you're like, I'll just move on. And then
Do you have to go on double dates sometimes?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm friends with everyone that goes. It's not like set up.
Your wife doesn't ever say, you need to meet so-and-so's husband. We'll all go on a double date. And then you go, and he's just boring as fuck. And your wife winds up talking to her friend, and you wind up talking to this husband. You're like, oh, no.
Yeah.
And you're just stuck talking to this dude while they're talking about purses and shit, and you're just stuck talking to this dude about nonsense. And you're like, oh, no.
Yeah. I have had that happen. And then, but it's like if you can't find one thing to connect with them,
Right.
like where you're sitting there, like, it's like sports, and then you're like, all right, no sports, and then you're like, what about and you're just trying to, and
Right.
you're like, dude, I'm a comedian, I can talk about anything.
Right.
If I can't find, if you're not giving me anything,
Right.
maybe talk about that to them. To go, why? What is your problem? They go, that's what.
How come I can't talk to you?
Yeah. How come? Do you ever hear that from people, dude?
Maybe it's you, bro.
Maybe it's you. I want to open you up, dude. If you take it to that,
Yeah.
I want you to spend the night tonight. Go that far. And ask
But
them
then
to
you
spend
can
the
be
night.
pleasantly surprised, you know?
Oh, when a dude's the best,
Yeah.
and you're like, well, you're the greatest thing I've ever been.
Yeah.
Oh, there's nothing better than that. It's hard to make friends
Well,
as
that's
an
like
adult.
Dr. Phil's son. Dr. Phil's son is married to one of my wife's friends. And I was like, I'll meet this fucking dude.
Yeah.
Well, he's probably going to be some crazy Hollywood guy. Normalest guy ever.
Yeah. That's very.
Oh, it was just fucking so
It's very
refreshing.
satisfying when it's like that because it's. I've learned. Like you starting to meet you meet famous people or you start thinking about it. You're like, dude, this is going to be a whole thing. Like I gotta, yeah, you're great. Like all, and you just end up sometimes being like, I would rather just not meet them. Because I just don't want to.
Right.
It's just going to be a lot.
But then you can meet some and they like pleasantly surprise you.
It's the best.
It's worth the risk. Like,
Yeah.
I've met some famous people and it's like weird when you meet them. Like you're like uncomfortable. You feel strange. And then you go, oh, you're just a person. You're just a person like me. You just are a movie star. Like Matthew McConaughey is a great example. I've had dinner with Matthew McConaughey and his wife and my wife, and he's so nice. He's so interesting, and he's so genuine, like a genuine guy.
Yeah.
And, I'm like, oh, you're fucking just a super movie star, famous guy, but you're fucking a
regular
regular
dude.
guy underneath all that craziness.
Yeah. See, I wish that would get out more. Like that like some of those
Yeah.
the stars is like it needs to be people to be like, yeah, dude, we're just hanging out.
He's done podcasts before.
Yeah, he seems like that.
He's-
I'm not saying,
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. is another one. Fucking great guy, man. You sit and talk to him. You're like, he's a good. And Robert Downey Jr. is interesting too because that's a guy who went to jail. Like he had a serious drug problem, got arrested, did time, and did a couple of years and got out of jail and is just like on the path now. He's fucking Iron Man. He's got his shit together. He's super successful, like very disciplined, does martial arts, eats well, is healthy. And it's just like, they exist. They're just humans. And that's the problem with like lofty positions, like positions of extreme adulation, like we were talking about with Ellen. Like you can get lost in that when you're not like anybody else. You're this island all alone. And
you see how it can happen. And like you see it like us going on the road and you're not in a reality.
Right.
Like you can tell, sometimes you go to venues and you can you see, I feel like you walk by people that work there and they're not like looking at you and you're like,
right.
Did someone tell you not to look at, this is insane. You're like, I've never said anything. I mean, you go talk to everybody because you're like, yeah, we're all working tonight. I get the idea, but you're of me being on stage, but you can feel that sometimes you're here, it's like, yeah, they don't, I don't know, you can see someone, if you have a conversation with someone, you don't they can just ignore them.
Yeah.
If someone gets too big, you're like, how do you even feel like that?
How you doing that?
How do you just go, that person doesn't exist?
Right.
And they're like, well, they just said something. You don't look and go oh, yeah. You don't try to even if you just get out of the conversation, have that awkward moment.
Yeah, Dan Soder told a story on the podcast about doing that at a comedy club and Chris Rock completely ignored him. And he was like, fuck that guy. And he just got up fuck you. And he got up from the table and walked away.
Yeah.
Now you talk to Dan Soder, he's like, fuck Chris Rock.
Oh, he does. Dan Soder's one of my best friends.
He's great.
He's great.
I fucking love that
He's
dude.
great.
But genuine. He's right there.
He's that dude.
He's that dude.
I know his mom, Trish.
No,
he's the best dude.
But that's that thing where someone who is at a higher echelon of success will only associate with people that are in that range or that he thinks should associate with him. He's never been like that with me. I don't know what Chris is like with other people.
I've been around him. I told Dan knows it, but I like Chris.
He probably had an awkward moment.
I understand. I understand you can meet people in different kind of. There was a time I didn't like Louis C.K. I thought he was mean to me at Caroline's. Really? Yeah, when I opened for him at Caroline's a long time ago, and he was Louis, and he was doing a charity thing for his kids, and I remember I did a joke. I'm opening for him. And I just did. I do 15 to 10 minutes or whatever, and then I bring him up, and then I said a joke. And I think he made fun of my joke when I got off. And I mean, it was in the moment just being a young comic and being like, dude, they're all here. You're famous. I'm just I'm nobody.
Right.
Who cares about my joke? And then it was that was annoying to me and I would be real mad about him. Then I talked to him much later and it was oh, this guy was different and nicer. And then it's now I've talked to him and it's well, he's better. Or maybe he's gotten worse than others.
Well, also
my personal relationship with him.
You're successful now.
Yes.
You're established.
That's true. Because some of that becomes where you're I don't know, what's he supposed to do?
Well, there's that awkward moment when, you first meet someone where you don't know if they're going to be cool. It's
and I can take something way more personally when I'm a younger comic and I'm so sensitive to everything at that moment.
Right.
So I couldn't even tell you if I really think back on it, it's what does it really matter? It could have been he making a joke and he's just busting and we're just we're having fun time. But I take it as are you kidding me?
Right.
I running my whole life to do this. And
he's so important.
Oh,
so if he makes fun of you, if you go on stage and Jamie Foxx is on after you and he makes fun of you, no.
Yeah.
No.
And Jamie's I'm just a comic, dude. I'm just
sorry, it was right there.
I followed you. You murdered, and so I just made a joke about it, and then I moved on.
Yeah.
And you just take it, because you're not friends with them, so you can't trust it.
Right.
With I've opened for Chris, and I went on the road with Chris. So I know Soder's, but I understand where Soder's coming from. That's like one of those you're like, yeah, dude, I would probably I felt the same way with Louis. I would feel the same way as Soder feels.
Right.
And then I've been around Chris where you're like, I don't feel that, and I feel like he's a comic that wants to hang out, and like, I think he's a dude. That dude's been famous for so long too that like if you're in his circle,
Yeah.
I think he's like one of the best, if not the best ever. Like,
Well, 100% one of the best ever. If you go back and watch Bigger and Blacker, you go back and watch Bring the Pain, those are fucking classic specials. They're as good as anybody's ever done. Those are two absolute rock solid, classic, all-time great stand-up comedy specials.
yeah, it's crazy.
Undeniably.
But I liked it because it was like, that was like when you were saying something and it was in the form of jokes. So you're saying these big points and it's done in the form, it's rapid, boom,
Yeah,
boom,
yeah.
boom. Like that's why to me, like it's like he is just, it's another planet. Like, I mean, he's pacing the stage. Yeah, like you can see him. Like even like he was on Letterman when like the Letterman stuff with the women, and he went on Letterman and like he's like, "What are you doing with these girls?" And like starts yelling at, like when Letterman got in trouble, the cheating on his wife or all that stuff. Did he get in trouble? Right?
Yeah,
like a long time ago.
And Chris went on and
Chris was a
making fun
guest
of it.
and just talked about it. I think it saved Letterman. Because
Right.
it was just being talked about in the open.
Right.
And he went in, and I was like, with Chris, you can see like he gets like a zone in his eyes where you can just tell like he's not even really looking at anybody. It's just like
comedy.
Yeah, it's comedy.
He's
like
in the groove.
He's in the
Yeah.
groove of just, if
Yeah.
an elephant walked in front of him, he would be like, I never saw it. Like it's just his eyes are just like
Yeah.
he's just pacing.
He's really funny again right now. Man,
That's what I've heard. I wanna go
I
see
saw
it.
him at the store before the whole Will Smith thing, and he was working out his material. He was fucking good, man. He was really good, like classic Chris Rock shit. Because, went through a hard divorce, lost a shitload of money, and there's a lot of pain, and then came out of it. And then on the other side of it, it's like, he's really good right now.
Yeah, I heard someone someone told me about his hour now. I heard it's great.
Yeah,
like
well,
it's
I
really
heard,
great.
first
It's
heard
tight.
from my friend Eddie Bravo. He saw him at the store, and he texted me. He goes, "Brother, this guy is on fire right now." He goes, "He's so good right now." I go, "Really?" He goes, "You got to see him." And then I was there like a week later, and I got a chance to watch his set. And it's nice to see. It's because, there's always that drop-off point with a lot of like great comics. Like they'll have a couple really good specials, and then they'll have one that's not that good.
Yeah.
And they'll have another one that's not that good, and you're like, ooh, is he falling off?
I feel like you need to be an underdog. Like you want, you almost like you want to have people doubt you.
Right.
And that's the whole beginning of comedy is you go on stage and this crowd doubts you. So your first time on stage is talking to 20 people that don't think you can do this.
Right.
So every time you go on stage is just proving something.
Right.
And then maybe you get too big to a point to where now they're there. And if you're not aware of it, like they said, like the self audit, or if you're constantly just reminding yourself that you're not like, almost like you hear me on stage, you're like, dude, I'm nobody. I'm an idiot. I don't think I know how to do comedy. To be honest, like you think that all is, like once you tape an hour, you're like, I don't know how I could ever do it ever again. I should quit, honestly, and get a regular job, and probably it's going to happen. Like you just this panic of just all this stuff. And so if you don't have that, then you can kind of get lost, and then you're like, and that's when I think specials can get bad. You're just cramming them out, and you're like, you may do one, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll go, and you just are pounding them out, and then you need that back to like, and almost like with. Not saying Chris was at that point, but like the resurgence of now he had that happen at the Oscars. So now everybody's going to be like expecting a lot from him. If he comes and does something, whatever, it's like, I mean, it's not, there's no payback. There's no nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, who cares?
Yeah.
But if he comes back with this next special and it's what what I'm hearing it's supposed to be, it's going to be.
It's right back where he was at his best.
Oh,
When I saw
at
him,
all.
he was killing. I mean, killing. And it was a drop-in set. It wasn't wasn't announced.
You got to find that. I think you got to find that motivation.
Yes.
The motivation that makes you. Sinbad said that. I remember reading a book. He's talking about. He's like, because it's hard to go. He was riding Greyhound buses to shows, and so Sinbad's like laughing with the bus driver. I mean, he's just like the most funny you could be. And then you're in limos or something, and then everything kind of changes, and you lose that hang, where you lose that perspective of like that kind of outside world, and you think like, well, I walked to my show and my coffee wasn't where I thought it was going to be, and then and you're like, well, that's someone's job. You're like you go, well, all I do is ask for that to be right there. I don't think that's crazy. Am I being crazy saying that I would like my coffee right on that stool when I walk past it? And you don't go, what? Yeah, no, go get it, dude. Go get it. It's across the street. There's a Starbucks. Walk over there and go grab whatever you want to grab. Yeah. And you're like, but I don't. But people recognize me and stuff. You're like, no one's gonna recognize. Just go over there and go do your dumb thing, and like bring yourself back to like some kind of reality. Yeah. To go like, all right.
You get insulated.
Yeah,
and when you're Chris Rock, how do you not get insulated? Everywhere you go, everybody says, "Oh, that's Chris Rock."
Well, I mean, you're gonna have that. You have that now. Like with everywhere you go, it's obvious that you're gonna,
Yeah, but I'm for whatever reason I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah,
in some weird way.
I think you're very open. So it's also the Chris Rock or these like before social media. I mean, now you're on a podcast, so everybody knows everything, and you're talking about everything, and people know your persona, and they know the way you say stuff and all this stuff. But a lot of those celebrities, those guys, you didn't know who they were. Right. Like Tom Cruise. That's why I liked celebrities being. The old way was like the only time you saw Tom Cruise was a movie.
Right.
And I mean, you still don't. I don't know if he's on. I don't think he's on social media. But then you're like some of these, like you see people and you're like, yeah, I shouldn't be like watching this guy go to the grocery store. Like he's, if Tom Hanks or like he's just talking to you on Instagram. You're like, yeah, go be Tom Hanks, dude. I don't want to know what you're doing. I want you to be this kind of like I see you at this movie, and then I don't see you for 3 years.
And sometimes they step out of that, and it ruins it.
It ruins it.
Remember when Tom Cruise went on? Was it Good Morning America?
Oprah.
No. It was Good Morning America with what the fuck's his name? Matt Lauer.
Today Show.
Oh,
Today Show.
Yeah.
Today Show with Matt Lauer, and he was talking about Brooke Shields and psychiatric medication, and he was saying that it's not a chemical imbalance. Like these drugs are dangerous. These psychiatric drugs, and and like it almost like ruined his fucking career because everybody's like, listen to this loon.
Yeah,
like, what the fuck is he saying?
And you're like, I just want to watch you in Top Gun.
Yeah, just go back to doing Mission Impossible, brother.
That's
Stop
why
talking.
I like entertainers. Like it's going back to be entertainment. Go be the entertainment. It's like don't. And there's a mix, right? I'm not saying everything has to be entertainment, but like everything can't be a message, all right? It can't be. You have to have that balance, and you got to make movies that are going to be an escape and go be fun.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, I mean, we were talking a little bit less. It's like some of these like guys, these celebrities or these people in movies. You're like they're in every movie. There's like 12 of them,
right?
And you're like, I mean, is there no one else? Like, is there no one else to make a movie?
But if you want to make a movie and you want it to be really successful, you got to get one of those guys.
But there's got to be. But those guys weren't those guys back when they were
right.
At the
but
beginning.
If you're bankrolling a movie, the problem is if you're Miramax and you're bankrolling a movie, you need Brad Pitt.
I know, but go find But they had to go find original talent a long time ago. You can't go do that.
But if you go see Tom Cruise, it's going to be a blockbuster. People will automatically go see a Tom Cruise movie. He's a proven, bona fide guy. Like if he's in a film, you're going to go see it.
Yeah, I saw it. But if he's doing that, do you not like that's what funds how to build the next generation of stars?
Yeah, but the next generation of stars are like his co-star. Like he always has like unknown co-stars, and they wind up being big, successful movie stars.
But are they becoming big stars? The co-stars?
Sure. What's that girl's name? Anna de Armas. She's getting huge now, and she was like co-stars and things. She was always like this co-star, and now she's Marilyn Monroe, and she's doing all this other shit.
Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't think you know what you're talking about.
I don't know. I have some good ideas. I have some good ideas, Joe.
You have this idea. We were pushing it last night that they should just retire.
It didn't work last night. I thought, let me try it in front of millions of people.
Clint Eastwood's 150,000 years old, and he's still doing movies.
Yeah, but they're doing a lot. I know, but they keep going. It's like they're in everything, dude. You're like, it's the same dudes. I'm not talking about Tom Cruise. I mean, Tom Hanks is in everything. He's in everything. And you're like, like Daniel Day-Lewis. I don't know what that guy, if he's alive anymore. Like, that guy just goes off the planet.
Yeah, he stops doing films and he works as a cobbler.
Yeah, that's...
He makes shoes.
Is there something great about that?
Yes, there's something great about that. But what if you love acting and you want to go back and do it? I mean, the thing is, like, we're looking at
But are they making stars? Like, that's what it's like, I don't think the people are getting out of the way is what I'm saying. I don't think people get out of the way. I don't think they have their job. Like, you're talking about, like, someone being the next, if they want to be the next Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy, whatever they want to go be. Like, some of the, like, not saying they have to get out of the way now, but you're like, or do people get out of the way?
But why would they get out of the way? But why are you looking at it that way? Why aren't they just doing what they do, and other people do what they do? There's a lot of movies being made. I don't think it's like a get out of the way thing.
I don't feel like they're mainstream though. I think mainstream stuff is not getting.
Yeah, but the mainstream stuff has to be funded. It's like it's a business, and this is like John Leguizamo made a post on Instagram the other day where he was talking about James Franco, because James Franco's playing Fidel Castro, and he's saying he shouldn't be playing someone who's Latin American. He's not Latin American. And then, you know, there was people that were upset and said, actually, he's half Portuguese. That's technically Latin. He's like, no, we're talking about people from Latin America, like from that part of the country. Like, you know, and then he was saying that people who are of Latino or Hispanic descent, they make up like a certain percentage of the population, but they don't have a certain percentage of the roles. And he was saying we should get more chances. We should have more representation. We should have more, like, because white actors do a film and it bombs, they get more chances, and Latinos should get more chances. And I see what he's saying. I understand what he's saying. He's right about the representation. He's right about the percentage of people, and that the films don't necessarily match up. And whenever you have like what was that Encanto, that animated? It was is that what it's called? And it was you know, a Latino animated film. It was fantastic. It was great. And people loved it for both reasons. They loved it because it was great, and they also loved it because it represented, you know, a significant portion of the population. But if you're a person making movies, you're not thinking that. You're thinking, this is my money, and I'm trying to make money. Okay, we're in the business of making money in films, and if I'm making a big ass fucking giant movie, I need stars, and I need someone who and if it's John Leguizamo that sells all the time, or if it's fucking Brad Pitt that sells all the time, whoever the fuck that guy is that sells all the time, that's what they push. They're doing it to try to make money, and because those people are really good. It's not like there's anyone
they're awesome,
but it's not like there's anybody who keeps getting chances and they suck.
Yeah,
you know, it's just not real. Like they fall away. Like many famous movie stars have fallen away. It's these ones that people still love. They'll go to see, like Keanu Reeves. He could do Matrix 7 and fucking John Wick 10, and people would still go to see it, right? Because they love that guy. Tom Cruise could do 100 Mission Impossibles. People are going to go see it. They love that guy.
I'll go see the next one.
And the Rock can do the same thing. The Rock can do anything, right? He can do anything. It's about getting to that point. And I know it's not a fair business. It's a weird, fucking crazy business, and some people get chances and some people don't. That's part of the madness of it all that makes people so fucking nuts when they live there. Is because they know that any audition could change their life. And they go in there and these people get to decide. And here you're dealing with someone who's probably insecure in the first place. They're seeking out an exorbitant amount of attention. And they're doing it probably because they have like some sort of a psychological deficit. That's most of us come from like some broken homes or some traumatic childhood. Most of us do. And then you're trying to prove your worth to a bunch of people that are sitting there in this artificial environment where you're like reading off of a piece of paper. It's fucking nuts. And you leave, you're like, oh, I hate myself. Like, it's so anxiety. And you don't, it's like not proactive. Like, you can do your best in the audition and hope it works out, but you don't know what the fuck they're looking for. And you're like, your hopes and dreams are based on other people's opinions of you. And that causes people to start behaving in a way where they hope people will like them. They'll say things that they think these people want to hear. Instead of formulating your own opinions, you become like a half person. Like, half of you is a real person, and half of you is like this performative shell of what you're supposed to say, what political ideas you're supposed to hold on to and to espouse. And you get this weird fucking dynamic. And some people achieve escape velocity. These Robert Downey Jr. guys, these Matthew McConaughey guys who can kind of just be separated from it and trying to live a normal life and then go in there and make these crazy fucking blockbuster movies and then get the fuck out. And there's only a few people that can do that.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of the chaos of that business. But that doesn't, that doesn't mean that James Franco shouldn't be able to play Fidel Castro. It's like,
yeah,
like,
I don't think that does either.
I mean, it's fucking,
yeah.
What you can't, I mean, come on, we can't do that. That's, I see what he's saying. And maybe if there was like someone else that was like commensurate with James Franco, and maybe there is, maybe there's someone else that was up for it.
But what it was actually, doesn't he kind of look like him or something, or
kind of looks like him?
Yeah,
kind of looks like him. But if there was someone that was actually, Cuban, maybe that would be a better representation in terms of like how people felt. Like if you found out that someone was playing like like I'm Italian. If we found out someone was playing like a very famous Italian, whether it was Michelangelo or something like that, and then they got some dude from Holland to do it. I guarantee you, people in my family would be like, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah,
that guy's not Italian.
Yeah,
that's just. So I get where Leguizamo's coming from, but I just wish it wasn't like that. It just seems like. I mean, there's egregious levels of it, right? Like the most egregious is like when John Wayne played Genghis Khan. That's just ridiculous. That's not cool. But it was like he was John Wayne, so he could play a fucking, not just a warlord, but one of the greatest warlords ever, who came from a very specific part of the world. He came from Mongolia. He looked like a Mongolian, and literally his DNA. He had sex with so many women. His DNA is like in some preposterous percentage of the Asian population, like something wild. Like Genghis Khan's DNA and his children's DNA is in a significant percentage of the population. Like, what is Genghis Khan's DNA in? Genghis Khan, there's a fantastic piece. I'm sorry I have to recommend this again, but it's that good. A fantastic piece that Dan Carlin's Hardcore History did. It's called Wrath of the Khan. It's 5 hours on Genghis Khan, at least 5 hours. Listen to this. Since 2003, a study found evidence that Genghis Khan's DNA is present in about 16 million men alive today. The Mongolian ruler's genetic prowess has stood as an unparalleled accomplishment. But he isn't the only man whose reproductive activities still show a significant genetic impact centuries later. So there's other men that have too, but 10 other men who left genetic... Let's see who the 10 dudes who spread their seed the best.
It's like Will Chamberlain. Like, it's at random. Like,
who is it? Who are the
Genghis
people?
Khan.
What do we got? It's not a list? Oh, this is just another Genghis Khan article? Oh, it just says 10 other men. So anyway, Genghis Khan, to have a white guy, John Wayne, hey, I'm Genghis Khan. It is so ridiculous. Have you ever watched it?
No.
You need to watch a clip right now. We need to show you a clip right now because it's the word. This is the best argument against cultural appropriation. Like when you look at James Franco, you look at Fidel Castro, Portuguese versus Cuban, like it's not that crazy, right? It's not that crazy.
Yeah, and he's a great actor, and you're like, that's good enough.
But if you look at John Wayne as Genghis Khan, you're like, fuck no.
Yeah.
If I was Mongolian, I'd be furious. I'd be furious.
That's people trying to get their money back.
We have a few Mongolian fighters in the UFC, and they're particularly furious. They're fucking awesome fighters. That's a hard part of the world. So for John Wayne, you got to see how corny this shit is. Susan Hayward, like look at her, she was hot. That was back when women were just hot. No exercise, no good diet, cigarettes, alcohol, hot as fuck. Nobody took care of themselves. They were just hot. They were hot for about 10 years. Look at this. It's so sexist. Listen to him. Look at this.
Temujin. Under his heel, the cowering nations. In his arms, the unconquered woman.
This is the trailer.
Yeah, play it.
I don't know if it has
Play it. He's going to talk.
His fire with ice,
Let it go. This is so corny.
Your hatred will kindle into love.
Before that day dawns, Mongol, the vultures will have feasted on your heart.
Oh.
This is.
Rogan, tempted to barter an empire for a woman's love.
Suppose, having taken your favors, I refuse the favor you seek.
Then I would reveal your betrayal to Temujin. Horses for me and my slave woman and safe conduct out of this camp.
This is so bad.
Yeah. She gets slapped again.
How about the music?
I am tempted, woman.
I am tempted, woman. I mean, this is fucking amazing.
This is
Scene
the trailer?
after scene,
Yeah.
Scene
I don't
after scene of unimaginable splendor, barbaric passions. How corny is this?
Yeah.
Savage conquest. This is. But the thing is, man, why would we have such a realistic depiction of these things today when they weren't willing to do it in the 1960s? Like, why? Why did they have like a bullshit version of history that they were putting in a film when we today would never accept that version? Like, if they tried to tell that as Genghis Khan's story today, people would go, "What the fuck are you talking about? That's not how it went. You can't have them behave like they're in a play."
Because you have internet.
What is that? What it is?
Yeah.
How many people knew in 1956
Yeah.
what he looked like or anything, really?
Right, but there had to be some historians that were consulted.
I don't think in the Hollywood back then.
You only
they-
had the encyclopedia,
Yeah.
really, for the longest time.
Okay,
right?
but how do they know so much now then? Like, how do they must have known?
Someone typed all of
But
it
it's
in on the internet.
It's not as if right, but I mean, there has to be like if you ever is there a thing you do, like, do you play guitar or anything like that where you watch someone faking it on TV? It drives people nuts, right? You're a musician,
Sure.
or you can play some musical
Sure.
instruments. Okay, like playing golf. Like you play golf. You play golf a lot. Jamie has a really good golf swing, and it's very impressive. If you watch someone who did not have a really good golf swing and everyone was pretending he has a really good golf swing, you'd be like,
It'd be
"Well,
very obvious.
yeah."
Yeah.
Sure. But there's got to be a time period, maybe in the, I don't know, 70s, 80s, when they found a whole treasure trove of information. Like, guess what? We have to rewrite the history books on.
I wonder when they did learn all that stuff, though, because it's just. I was saying historians watching that. My analogy was that historians watching that would be furious. They're like, "This is ridiculous." Like the people that actually know. But you could make a film where it was accurate because the real story was so fucking crazy that you can make a depiction that would be terrifying. The absolute 100% proven real story was that guy killed 10% of the population. 10%. They do a carbon where they do like soil samples.
Yeah.
They find out that during that time, the carbon level, like people burning fires, decreased at a significant measurable percentage because there was less humans.
That's wild.
They said they think they killed somewhere between 50 and 70 million people during his lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, if you knew that and then make that movie, it's a little different.
Dude, they were lighting corpses on fire and launching them with catapults onto people's houses to burn them down. When they would siege a city, they would stay outside of the city for as long as it took. For as long as it took, they would camp outside the city. Thousands and thousands of Mongolians just ready to kill. And they were going to get in eventually. And everyone knew they were going to get in eventually. It's like, how much food do you have? How long can you wait? And they would keep bringing supply chains, so they would always have food. And they would
That's
just
wild.
launch bodies. And then they would capture people who fled, and they would take those people and put them on the front of the line and march them forward like a human shield. And that's how they would get into some of the castles. That's how they would get into some of the cities.
Maybe they didn't. I feel like back then, talking about the movie,
They had to know that, though. They had to, like,
but they're
how do
like
people
selling
know
a
that
story
now?
back then.
I know.
Like that, like back then's like about it's about the art, versus now would be because there's documentaries and there's all these other things. Now it's got to be like, well, that's not really what happened.
Is that what it is, or did they just not know how to do it the way that we appreciate it now?
Well, yeah, they didn't have
no
this stuff.
one, but even like the way they tell a story. If you had those same cameras, if you had actors and screenwriters of today, they would make something better than that.
Yeah, I mean, it was, it's somewhat a new art. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's new art form.
So it's
That's what
like
I'm
they
saying.
were.
I'm not like judging it in a negative way, like saying that it sucks because at the time it was probably awesome.
Oh, it was
But
crazy.
But it's that the world has changed so much that if you wanted to have a Genghis Khan movie, first of all, you'd have to have a Mongolian guy play Genghis Khan. You'd find some unknown actor. I'm sure they're out there.
Use James Franco again. He does good with this. They go, I'll be honest, we're going to go with James Franco. He just does.
War movies probably this is something I don't know. I'm trying to make a guess. Like Apocalypse Now, around then, like wouldn't that probably changed a lot of the filmmaking then? But like we have to be more historically accurate now. We
I
can't
think
be
that's
fucking around.
way earlier than Apocalypse Now.
No, it
Jay.
is. It's like wasn't that like 77-ish?
Well, Apocalypse Now was like a 6 or 7 year film shoot.
So it's like 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
20-year gap in between those two movies we're talking about.
Lawrence Fishburne was like 16 when he was in Apocalypse Now.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
That's crazy.
They did that film they did it for, I think it was something really crazy. Like it was at least 5 years to film that. Went way over budget. Marlon Brando gained weight and he didn't want to lose weight. So they filmed him in the dark. So it's just like, had like a dark robot and like you just see his face. And part of the lines they kept in the film, I'm pretty sure he improvised.
I guess he was I don't know if I know much about Marlon Brando, but that was a guy. I mean, that guy is so famous. Like,
oh my God!
Especially then, when your competition is it's whatever is on the screen.
Yeah,
that's why. Could there be you think stars could, like that superstardom, could kind of go away, with the fact the competition is too much. You can have people that are like, I'm just not even into movies, and then they watch. And then you can go watch videos all day, like YouTube videos, and then you're like, and you have no concept of this guy's the biggest star. You know, when you think about like celebrities now, I can't ever tell if it's like older, not celebrity, but like actors and all this stuff, and where you're like, that person, they say, like that's the most famous person ever, and you're like, I've never even heard of them.
There's so many people now, though, in terms of like famous people. There's way more famous people because there's internet famous people.
So that superstardom is like, can it? To sustain it.
People will forget real quick.
Real quick.
Yeah. I mean, do you remember Brendan Fraser?
Yeah.
That guy was a huge movie star.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see him in shit anymore. I mean, I think he's doing a comeback in some movie where he gets like really overweight. Some movie about some morbidly obese guy. And I think he actually gained a lot of weight to play the role. And he's in something else too. But point is, like, that guy was a giant fucking movie star.
He was.
Giant.
Yes.
Giant. I mean, he was huge. He was in a lot of shit. He was in The Mummy. Remember that?
Mummy, yeah. He had a really hard run. Oh, wow.
Is that real, or is that really what he looks like?
The film is called The Whale, so I believe that's what it.
So
you mean like CGI?
Yeah, is that CGI? Like, I don't think he got that big.
Or a fat suit or something.
I think he got a little big.
Well, this is a different movie.
This is a TV
Doom
show.
Patrol.
Oh, it's a
Season
different
3?
movie.
And that says The Whale. So I don't know
so that is what he looks like now.
Yeah.
Wow. Maybe he'll come back as like the best fat actor ever.
That kind of looks a little extra.
Well, he's at least he's a legit actor.
Yeah, he's a legit actor. The point is,
Yeah.
like, that guy, like, The Mummy was great. That was a fun fucking movie. He was great in a lot of movies.
Encino Man.
Yeah, he was great in a lot of movies.
Mm-hmm.
Fun movies. It can go away.
It can go away.
Yeah,
but
and
now
some
it's like
people-
it's
Marlon Brando wanted it to go away. He bought a fucking island. He had a bunch of Native Americans accept his Academy Award for him. Remember that? Did you ever see that?
No.
You should show that. He had this Native American woman accept his Academy Award.
He was just like out of like the business, like just wanted to be done with. Like he was like,
well, he was a wild fellow. Put that on. Yeah, that's it, man. Here it is. So it's Roger Moore, and I don't know who the woman is.
Marlon Brando in The Godfather.
So this is for the fucking Godfather, okay? And so instead of him,
For Marlon Brando and The Godfather, Miss Shasheen Littlefeather.
Shasheen Littlefeathers, I hope I said it right. She's going to accept his award. Look at this. She doesn't want the award.
Hello, my name is Shasheen Littlefeather. I'm Apache, and I'm president of the National Native American Affirmative Image Committee. I'm representing Marlon Brando this evening, and he has asked me to tell you in a very long speech, which I cannot share with you presently because of time, but I will be glad to share with the press afterwards, that he very regretfully cannot accept this very generous award. And the reasons for this being are the treatment of American Indians today by the film industry, and on television in movie reruns, and also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee. I beg at this time that I have not intruded upon this evening, and that we will, in the future, our hearts and our understandings will meet with love and generosity. Thank you on behalf of Marlon Brando.
That's heavy.
I mean, she'd have had a 40-minute standing ovation. Like, think about
they booed her too, though. Did you hear that?
Yeah, but think about it now.
Oh
like
my
that's
God.
it would be.
Yeah,
that is crazy because they booed her, which felt like the more mood of the crowd and the people taking the chances with the people clapping.
That
like
was agents, guaranteed.
Yeah,
that was some William Morris agents. Boo! Fuck you! I'm doing coke. Some guy doing coke who just wanted the fucking award show to be over.
And the Godfather. I mean, to be that big of an award.
I know, the biggest. It's one of the biggest movies ever. It's one of the most classic films of all time. 1973. Yeah. So, you know, this Leguizamo thing. I just want to say, I think John Leguizamo is awesome. I love him in everything. He's great in everything. It's not a knock on him. It's just, I just wish that wasn't an issue. But I get it. I do get it. I do get how you. I mean, after what looking like, especially the Marlon Brando. I mean, the John Wayne Genghis Khan thing. It's like fucking so preposterous. It's just one of those things. It's just like that business is fucking nuts. The business
it is nuts.
Spending hundreds of millions of dollars. Do you know they just scrapped? They made a Batgirl movie and just scrapped it, just threw it away. Right? They decided they're not going to release it. Like what?
Why would they not just release it? Like that's what I like. How do you get to the point where you go, I'd rather lose the money?
The argument was that it was made for streaming when everything started headed towards just streaming, and now that they're back towards theatrical releases, it's not. Maybe they think it won't make the money, so they're not going to put it out.
What does that mean? It won't make the money, so they're not going to put it out?
I don't know.
I don't get their logic.
Yeah. Is that coffee?
Yeah, have some coffee, son. Sorry.
Accounting.
Yeah, I mean, why would they do that? Why wouldn't they just
try to get it back? I don't know why.
Unless it really sucks.
But yeah, like go sell it to streamers, dude.
I mean,
there's a whole
suck, but
Hollywood's got a whole business of just you got all this stuff that's not ever seen the light of day.
Yeah.
That if you put it out as like kind of like no pressure, these pilots, these movies, I don't know, and like people would go crazy about that.
Well, they must have thought that they could redo it. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. Like they have one shot at making like this like awesome Batgirl movie. They want to really nail it, so let's try it again. I mean, maybe that's it. Because you got to realize those are billion-dollar franchises. Right? If you get a Batman franchise or an Avengers franchise, those are fucking guaranteed blockbusters. I'm there. I'm there for Avengers. When the Avengers come out, I watch all those. I fucking love them. Warner Brothers cuts its losses by axing $90 million Batgirl movie. They spent $90 million and they're just going to toss it?
HBO Max went to
But what if
Disney
they had like some fucking wizard, some like... the cleaner from Pulp Fiction come in and explain things to them.
Like, isn't it going to all be like that? Like, where do you think entertainment will be with, you got Amazon, you got Disney Plus. I mean, is it going to just be like you have those and then you're just picking a la carte? Like, you just, like if you want a series, you're following, I guess, a person.
I think the future is like a Substack type situation where you subscribe to individual things that you want. I think it's going to be more like that. And it'll have to be more reasonable. I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. But I think if I was a big corporation, I would do exactly what they're doing. I mean, for their bottom line, just buy up everything, Like, didn't Disney just buy HBO?
Yeah.
Right? So, like, they own everything. They own ESPN.
Yeah.
They own a lot of shit. And, there's a lot of companies that do that. And it makes sense to me. I mean, if I was a company. But as, someone who puts stuff out, if I was a guy who made movies, I'd be a little concerned. I'd be like, wow, there's like less people to bargain with. Like, how many people are making movies? What if it becomes just like 2 giant movie studios?
Yeah,
you know, that's it. It's the only place you can get your movie made.
So, but that's where. So there was there's a show called The Chosen. You heard of that?
No.
And it's about the life of it's about Jesus, about the life of Christ, and the guys that I met, the guys that like did this, this studio I believe was behind. They do dry bar comedy. Like those clean. It was like on the ones that is all clean and they've been on Facebook. But this Chosen's that they made it's like through the roof how many people have watched this show.
What is it about?
Christ. And it was Jesus. I think it's through the perspective of the people. Most things are through Jesus' perspective, and this is through the like people that are around theirs perspective. I don't know a ton. I've only seen like a little. I haven't got to watch the whole thing. But it's got the views of it. It was. I think you can buy it on Amazon
shit.
now.
Look at
but
all the
they
views.
just made their own app, and so they just went and they made an app called The Chosen, and you went to that app and you watched that show. And I believe it got, millions upon millions of views. And it's a series, and it was they did all the ad behind it. They did all the very word of mouth, but I think the ads and all that stuff behind it, and they just started this. There's like, that's their thing. They're The Chosen. And then it was an app, and you go watch that show there.
That's wild. Then do you think that speaks to an opportunity for anyone to do that with any kind of film, or do you think that speaks to like the lack of representation of like Christian films?
I think that helps, but I think anyone can do it.
Anyone can do it.
And you got to think that is being a film about Christ. It's a very like a lot of people are Christians here, like a crazy amount of Christians. So people do want to go see that, and that could not be being shown. But it also just shows you, it's all about specials and all this stuff where you could be like, you could go like, I don't know, if I go find an audience and this audience wants to do it, like, why don't I could have a Nate Bargatze app and I put my specials on there. Then,
right.
And you have a Joe Rogan app and you do the specials, and then maybe you're like, I want to write a TV show and shoot it with my friends. Yeah. And then that goes on there and you become your own studio.
Right.
And that's what the thing that keeps that from happening is it's very expensive to go shoot this stuff and to go do all this stuff. But cameras and everything is, someone could probably shoot something with a phone.
No, they 100% could. They've done films with phones, with iPhones. They're so good now, man. And the other thing is the ability to stream from your phone onto a television is wild. Like,
easy.
You could watch anything, and you could just press, whatever you use. You use the Google version, the Apple version, and bam, you're watching it on your television like it's perfect.
And it's even a better remote because you get to be like, you're like,
you can pause it on your phone.
There,
yeah. You can rewind it exactly to where you want it with your finger. Yeah,
the big business is going to have to compete with individuals because it's like if everybody starts figuring their own kind of thing out, then it's like.
But if you want to have a bunch of actors and you want to have a script and you want to have explosions and you want to have superheroes, like, you need a lot of money. Like, if you want to make an Avengers movie, you need a lot of fucking money.
That would be, you can't compete with that, or maybe you'd have to have money behind it. But like, I don't go watch Avengers. Like, I'm not the biggest superhero. So if you're going to miss out on, there's not that many of, it's like Avengers, like these giant, like Jurassic Park or like these kind of giant things.
Right.
But then outside of that, the movie industry is like, it's not made, you can't go make, I don't know, like Pelican Brief. I'm just trying to name a movie that's like, or, The Net, the Sandra Bullock. I'm just naming some.
Right.
Like, you can't go make that movie. If you go, and then talk about Brendan Fraser, he goes off the planet, no one sees him for a while. Well, then you're like, go get Brendan Fraser. You get a guy that's a bona fide star.
Right.
That they just kind of don't use. And then you're like, you want to do this, like, you get writers that can't get into Hollywood or you don't know about, like, and then you could make something unreal.
That's a real good point, because all you'd have to do is catch someone's eye on social media where it's like real good. It's like, this is fucking compelling. This is fun.
Word of mouth gets around.
And then make it reasonable for them to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. People are doing that with their special. Like, Schultz just did that with his comedy special. He bought it back from the streamer and released it on his website. direct to fans.
Yeah.
It's
if you're not going to only buy these certain things, these giant things, then and it's the big corporations, then that's where it's a problem for. Well, the creators are not. There's only so many of like those stars,
right?
So if you're only going to be like, well, we can only put them in it because we need to make our money back, and you're not taking zero chances, well, then you're creating underneath you a network that will overtake you, I believe. Like you're just creating too much talent. Like you look at Mr. Beast on YouTube. Like these are guys that like that guy might have been on Disney if it was the 90s.
Right.
But instead you let that guy figure out how to become his own person. And now you're competing with that guy.
Right.
Versus competing with a show that you own.
Exactly.
That dude's on his own.
He's on his own. And he's very intelligent about it. What he does is he makes these things that are really fun, and he figures out like what's most compelling. He pays attention to like the metrics and the numbers and what attracts people, like the picture that you show, you know, that like, and the title of the video, very important. All those things are very important.
Wow.
And he spends all of his money producing the show. He makes a shitload of money
and just gives it back,
and pours it all back into the show. He lives a very
and
modest life. Very
that's
real.
Authentic. And that's what I think people are buying now.
He also translates it into multiple languages.
That's wild.
Yeah.
See,
he has
that guy
people that work for him
knows how to do a business and knows how to do that stuff.
Yeah.
So if that guy can make it, and then he's like, I'll be a company that starts doing it for other people. Then that guy becomes Netflix.
Well, let me tell you something. That guy could just do that with movies. He could do that with anything. Like, he has this mind for organizing and putting things together and figuring out what people like. And he's like a genuinely fun, intelligent, likable guy. So he puts that all together. He could focus that on anything.
See,
like, he's probably likes movies. We all like movies.
Yeah.
If he said, let me get together with a bunch of people that make, you know, really fucking cool scripts.
I want to make a movie.
Yeah, a bunch of people who are actors who nobody knows. Well, there's a lot of them, man. Acting, there's a lot of people that are really good.
Way more.
Working in theater somewhere, you know, that are really good. And if
that's
they were in a
hard to
film,
compete with.
Yeah.
Because you can't, it's a punch that you don't see where it's coming from. And you're like, what is it? And it's someone that's high up that's like, YouTube? Who watches YouTube?
Right.
And then you're like, the next 50 years, that person's going to sound like the dumbest person that's ever lived. I don't watch you. I watch YouTube, but I don't watch it like my daughter and the kids. They're not even watching TV.
Right.
They're only watching YouTube.
That's what most kids are doing. They're watching TikTok. They're watching YouTube. They're watching just whatever nonsense pops up on their feed.
If you create something, like I always thought about with a YouTube, like, well, what if you write a scripted show and you just put it out on your YouTube thing for free, and like you just shoot it? Like if I'm thinking about like trying to start shooting some stuff and just being like, all right, I'll try to write sketches, not really sketches, but it's like 10-minute version of like Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I'm gonna just try to go shoot that on my own and put it out on my YouTube, and then just see what happens. Well, that's an actual like crafted thing. And I know writers, I know all the comics, all of us that like have been doing this for a long time, people that are acting, and like you can find people to be in it, and you're like, all right, I'll just pay for this, and it goes on YouTube and just see what it goes from there. It's like, I don't know, why can't you not, do that if you keep the cost down?
I think you certainly could if you were motivated. If you're motivated and you had a good group of people that you collaborate with, you could do that. I bet there's some really fucking intelligent, creative people out there that can make all kinds of wild films. And if you don't have special effects and all you need is a music soundtrack, like you can kind of do that with can't you do that with GarageBand? Couldn't you like make a music soundtrack basically? I've never used it. Have you? Yeah. I know Red Band makes all kinds of crazy music with GarageBand.
You can definitely do it, yeah. Sure.
So you could have like piano playing, you could have all the kind of, musical accoutrements that people love in film, which is really weird, right? We just accept scenes where music starts playing that tells us the mood. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't have that, it feels odd. But when it has it, it feels completely natural. It's like we're totally programmed. Like imagine if you were talking to your wife and you're like, hey, I was thinking about the other day, and then you give her a big hug and music started playing, you'd be like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. What
is this music? Like, why is there music playing? Like, we're just accepting.
Is there a band here?
That there's these people in this romantic, or these people in this tense moment, and music playing, dum, 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 dum 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 dum. Like there's a gunfight and there's a soundtrack to the gunfight. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
That's why I have trouble being like, how do you not know this is happening? You don't hear the music.
You don't hear the soundtrack?
You don't hear the soundtrack?
That's what we just accept that there's a soundtrack.
Well, you go have people start doing stuff like that, or Willow Creek that you were showing, which is like the Blair Witch. Like Blair Witch was like such a crazy, when that came out, was insane. We all thought it, everybody thought it was real. Everybody's like, is it real?
Yeah.
It's nuts.
I heard it was real.
Yeah, I heard it was real. But it was like, it made it so fun. Well, that was shot on nothing. And so if you go do that now, like it's almost like these streamers and all these big things, they get comfortable. Like you're Disney Plus, you're like, well, I'll just buy all the main things up. And you're like, well, you don't see this underlining thing that's building where no one's going to want to watch a polished thing. Maybe in 10 years, I don't want to see something polished. That's weird. It's weird for me to see it polished. I want something that's got a little originality in the way it was shot, or it feels like a little, it's got a little bit texture to it, because everything is too polished.
Right.
And so then you got this other world that's building up that you have no idea that exists, and now it's a big problem. And then you start going, well, I'll just go there. And then, like with YouTube, people comics put in specials. If you don't keep it going and moving forward and building, then it's going to be like, well, then you force people to go do other things, and then the other things become the thing.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, now what do I do? You look at Netflix, like, Comedy Central was, that was it. Comedy Central was it.
But don't you think there's always going to be that place for the big movie? That's the argument for the stars.
The place is there, but I mean, those stars, but the competition, what are you going to do? Try to go, if it's Chris Pratt's turn to be the star, well, he's young, so you're going to try to take his job? No one's going to take a chance on someone else. And I like Chris Pratt. And so, but it's like Chris Pratt's just there. So he's like, you're not going to get those jobs. So then those people go, well, I guess I go find a different way to get a job. Well, that means you have all these great actors that are going to go do these things that are,
for sure,
that your competitor, that could essentially be your competitor.
I guess you could look at it that way, or you could look at more people making cool stuff. Like, if
I'm talking about a business. I'm talking about
even
their
if you're
business.
a business, you can only make so many fucking movies. And when the movie business is booming, it's booming for everybody.
Yeah.
When people get confidence in movies and a bunch of really good movies come out in a row, like people want to go to the movies. You have a good experience at the movies. Oh, I went to see that. Oh, I heard this is fucking awesome. Let's go see it. Like, that's good for movies. It's good for everybody.
Yeah.
They don't think about it that way. They think about it in terms of, like, I get it, opening weekend, we're going to be competing against Batman, and, fuck, we should, it should be scheduled 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later.
But everything feels like a big event. It feels like there's too many big events. Here's a big, why I like UFC. But UFC feels like it has these events, and they just time it out very perfectly, where it's always around the corner. You're like, I can't wait to see that event.
Well, we have an event almost every week.
Yeah, but it's not the, it's like there's the events, and then there's the other fights, and then but you have, like, it's really good at hyping these events.
Well, I see what you're saying. The big ones, the big title fights. Yeah.
And they go, and like now, I feel sometimes in movies, it's like I might be contradicting my whole point as I'm realizing I'm saying this.
It's okay.
But it's, because I was saying, like, maybe they do too many of those movies. It's like too many Jurassic Park. Like Spider-Man,
Right.
You're like, when Spider-Man came out, you're like, all right, dude, I can't watch. There's been 15 of them.
There's seven different dudes.
There's 7 different dudes, and we're not pretending that you're not just right. Like, is there not, create a new character?
Well,
like,
they kind of did with the Spider-Verse. They did a nice flip on it with the animated one. That's my favorite. Did you see that one?
I didn't see it, but I heard about it.
That's really
I
good.
heard it was awesome.
It's really good.
Yeah. I hear all of them are awesome. Because they're going to be great.
Yeah, but that's the point. Well, you have a good point there, in that each one of those Spider-Men, other than, who's the first one? Tobey Maguire. He was the first one, right? He was already famous.
Tobey, Andrew Garfield.
But with the other guys afterward, Tom Holland was already famous. He was already famous.
Andrew Garfield is the other one.
Was he famous already?
Sort of.
Not really, though, right? Not like
He's in
Spider-Man
like 1 or
famous.
2 movies, maybe.
Right.
These all probably blew them up in stardom.
But you have to be young to be Peter Parker, because he's a high school student.
But I understand your point earlier made sense to me. Like, these guys,
college student.
These guys selling, like, the Tom Hanks and all, like, they're selling tickets, and Brad Pitt and all these.
Yeah.
Where you could be like, if you're Tobey Maguire and you're these other guys, you have to prove that you can you can sustain the career,
Right.
which is something to be said. Which I'm actually a big fan of being. The longer you're in this business, the more you realize career length it's very impressive, and if you can sustain it, that's something in its own right. Anybody can be, not anybody, but being a flash in the pan and being hot in the moment, but being able to carry it is very hard to do. Sports and everything.
Right.
Comedy. When you meet a comic and they were like, I've been doing it for 25 years, 30 years, 40 years, you're like, that's insane.
Yeah.
How's that? We're made this career on just our dumb brain.
Right.
Words. You're like, it isn't, we got nothing. So it's always impressive. So I understand that aspect of, these people that sustain these long careers, maybe it is. No one's come up behind them and completely taken over. Robert Pattinson's probably one because he's in the new Batman. Like that guy was Twilight, and now that guy seems like he's getting like real acting. Like he's like will be the next kind of star. That'll be in a lot of stuff, Yeah,
there's always those guys where people like them in films. You see them as like a co-star in a few films, and then they take off. It's a fucking horrible road if you don't make it. And I've met a lot of people that never made it, and it just fucking.
That's why I like comedy because we have
it's more of a meritocracy.
Yep. There's at least some control, and it can be at least a little in your hands.
I don't think we disagree about this movie thing. I think we're just looking at it in different ways. I agree with you that it opens up the door for all these people to do creative stuff because the barrier for entry with really being able to have a phone and a tripod and you can film some shit. That's real. And that this is going to open up the door to a lot of really creative people, for sure, and a lot of people that have been overlooked. But I think that's good. I think it's going to have the opportunity for like the cream to rise to the top, like stuff that's really good, just get like virally shared.
Yeah,
and and people can look, people can do a lot today with just simple editing software. You can do a lot today. You can do a lot. I mean, I've seen wild videos that people make online where they splice shit together with music, and they just do it from their computer.
Well, the videos I've seen with your face on like someone else's, you're like, that's insane.
It's insane.
That's insane that it looks like you can't.
You've seen that guy that does Tom Cruise? Have you seen the deep fake? It's incredible.
Maybe, yeah.
Watch this.
Yeah.
It's going to freak you out because it's not Tom Cruise. It's this guy who sounds kind of like Tom Cruise, so it works because he does a good impression. But then they're doing a deep fake on his face, and it's nuts. It's nuts because they're going to be able to do this with anything, with anybody. There's already a program that they have with you or me because we've done so many podcasts. They can take all of your words that you've ever said and make you say things in any kind of inflection that they want, in any way they want, loud, angry. This is the guy.
He said, Mr. Movie Star, are you nervous? I said, no, Mr. Gorbachev, I'm not nervous, I know. He goes, well, remember how much a polar bear weighs? I said, polar bear? He said, enough to break the ice. It's the last time I've ever seen Macau Gorbachev.
What's up, TikTok?
So this guy just doesn't look like TikTok?
No. This is a deep fake.
He looks a little like him. That's why it works so well. But
it works because he's got a similar facial structure, but that is wild shit.
Kind of broken there, you can tell.
Well, so you could see
as much as the
quick movements or not.
But look at this.
Hey, listen up, sports and TikTok fans. If you like what you're seeing, just wait till what's coming next.
You think you could tell the difference?
No. I thought the guy looked like Tom Cruise.
No. Play this more. This is just deep fake. Look at this.
It's the real thing. I mean, it's all the real thing.
That's wild, dude.
Wild.
I don't know if I've seen that. I thought that was. I thought, oh, this guy looks like him.
No.
I didn't realize what was happening.
What does that guy actually look like? Do they have a photo? What he actually looks like? It's pretty. He's
a black dude. You're like, oh my god, dude.
He's Mongolian.
The behind the scenes of making those actual videos. That's what he looks like there.
Oh well, he does kind of look like him. That does help.
That helps a lot.
Does help a lot.
But still, that's crazy. That means they're not far off from.
Oh, look how
you don't have
did
to
it.
look at him.
Look how they did it. Look how they just take his face off. Do that again. Can you show that again? Watch how they did this because it's fucking wild.
Well, yeah.
Look at this. They make a digital version of Tom Cruise's face, and then they superimpose it over his face.
So I'm pretty curious. I told you about that thing with the South Park guys, and they said they were going to make a whole movie with Donald Trump about it.
Yeah. So what were they gonna? They were going to, and what happened?
They said it's on hold right now. They didn't officially stop, but they had a whole movie script written. They were going to have like a guy that looked just like Donald Trump. That was the idea of the movie.
Wasn't there a guy who played Trump in a Comedy Central show? Wasn't there?
Yeah.
Or was it Bush? Did he play Bush?
There's a couple Bush shows, but there was a guy that was running around as a Trump impersonator for a while.
But was there a Comedy Central show on Trump, or was just Bush? It was Bush. That's right. They had like a Comedy Central sitcom.
South Park guys made that too, I think, didn't they?
Did they?
That's My Bush.
Is that? Did they? I never watched that. Was that good? If those guys made it, it must be good.
Let me see.
I mean, those dudes have built their own. Like they're just
everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody
needs, Matt Stone.
Yeah. Everybody needs to shut the fuck up when those guys are talking.
Yeah.
Those guys have made the greatest animated show in the history of the world. It's some of the wildest, funniest shit that's ever been on television.
I've got to do like your father did and separate the whites from the coloreds.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, at least he believed in something.
That's My Bush.
That's some editing of it.
A forgotten masterpiece, it says?
There's someone, trying to bring it back.
Bush is naturally a bumbling man.
Was talking about what it was.
Oh.
It's like a homemade documentary about the show.
Oh. I never watched that show.
I don't think I've even heard of it.
I knew it was on. I was like, this is wild. They got a fucking sitcom.
Did you ever see those guys early on? Like,
I saw the very first VHS tape before it was ever a TV show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was being passed around. I was dating this gal that was she worked as she worked with an agency, and they got a copy of it. And people were making copies of copies and passing it around to people. It was like a thing that was going through Hollywood, and it was like really crude, and it was all about Brian Boitano and Christmas. It was hilarious, like really funny. And just bizarre, crude animation, like much more crude even than like the South Park you see now, even more shaky, but hilarious. And then it was like a couple years later, I think it was a show. I was like, wow.
They made something I don't recall ever seeing, and I don't know if we've talked about it. It was called Sassy Justice. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you heard of this?
No, it sounds awesome.
This is where they debuted this deepfake technology stuff that they were doing with Trump. I've never seen these images before.
Sassy Justice. What the fuck is that?
I have no idea. It's a 14-minute video.
98% like this. It's a 14-minute video.
Like this is the whole video they made, I guess.
Ways now with a technology called deep fake, you can get screwed over and lied to in ways never before possible.
Everyone's got a mask on.
Hi, I'm Fred Sassy. Today we'll dive into the world of deep fake. Plus, is a local Cheyenne dialysis clinic charging too much?
Is this what they were gonna do?
Yeah.
That's what they were gonna do.
Yeah.
Oh my god. My god, that's hilarious. Oh my god, that's funny.
It's got to be the most fun to work. Like or at least, I mean, it's hard work. What they do to be able to do that is insanely hard. But
do you think they got shut down? Like, do you think that's one of those things where someone said, "Hey, you can't do that"?
They said they stopped because a lot of this was a lot of the jokes were timely, and because the timing was going to be off. It was like 2 years later.
Whatever.
They might be starting it up again. They might be doing it again right about all the stuff happening now, like the raid and.
Well, it's just. Are you allowed to do that? Like, here's the question.
Oh, yeah.
Can you have a whole show? Can I have a
Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh my god.
But the dialysis king on the corner of Laramie and Fairfax, right next
Jesus
to
Christ.
downtown Cheyenne.
Like, are you allowed to do that? Like, look, when Kyle Dunnigan does it, here's the thing. When Kyle Dunnigan does it, one of the things that's great about it is kind of like the South Parky thing. It's I am giving in to the fact that this is not real life.
Yeah.
Right? I'm submitting to this.
Yeah,
I'm like,
he's so good at it.
He's great at it, but it's not. It doesn't look real.
This looks real, kind of.
Well, the one on the right, what's that guy's name again?
Michael Caine.
Michael
But
Caine.
that looks like Trump interviewing him. It
Yes.
looks like they put a wig on Trump. That's
Yes.
all.
Yeah.
Trump looks real. Well, they got a guy, obviously, that like physically resembles his size.
Perfect impersonation.
Yeah, they're clearly not going for the voice, though, so maybe that's why.
Yeah. Fucking amazing.
The Michael Caine sounded...
The Michael Caine's a little in that uncanny valley. That's a little weird. It looks a little sketch. But the thing about what I was getting at, the thing about the Kyle Dunnigan stuff is it looks fake. So
Yeah.
it's funny. Like the faces are moving all fucked up. Like it's not really Nancy Pelosi with skeleton hands.
Yeah.
It's rattling her jewels.
Yeah.
Like when you watch that, it's hilarious. Like it's like when he does Biden, you don't think it's really Biden. Have you seen the Biden ones they do?
Yeah.
It's the funniest fucking shit on the internet. But when Dunnigan does it, it's funny because it's not like I feel like you could do that.
This doesn't look. I mean, you can tell the hair. That's not Trump. You can tell because of the hair, but that doesn't look fake.
God.
That
Like that
doesn't.
doesn't look like a deep fake
Oh my
No.
god, that's
compared
incredible.
to the one we just watched with Tom Cruise and. So they have a really good technology with whatever the hell they put together.
Bro, that's wild. And there's Christopher Waltz. That looks normal. He's talking to Trump.
I want to watch that now.
Like if it was
With Trump,
just
though, I
if you
feel like-
walked by it, you would be like, I would just think,
Yeah.
that's what it. You have no context. That's just playing somewhere. You stop for a second. I mean, if he does that, you'd be like. But then you would just you could easily just be like, yeah, I'm not prepared to be looking out
Right.
for this thing.
No. Yeah, of course.
It is true with Dunnigan that it's very.
That's too close.
Yeah, it's better being like the other way.
Yeah, like play a Dunnigan one. Play the Dunnigan most recent Biden
Dude, when
one.
he did Ray Liotta,
That was amazing.
I mean,
Amazing.
smoking cigarette.
It was hilarious. He does everybody great. Bill Maher is fucking
Oh,
spectacular.
yeah.
So funny. And him and Kurt Metzger together. Oh, Metzger's been hiking too. He told me he's addicted. He goes during the hottest part of the day. And he hikes up Runyon.
My name is...
What?
My name is...
Who?
My name is...
The guy.
You see
Hi,
how
kids.
bad that
You
looks?
Like pie tits?
Right?
They're not pie tits. You want to see me close both my eyelids? I get real close. I'm quicker than most. Let me be clear. I ain't afraid of no ghosts. I take my Talkie Joe drugs and give super long hugs. I'm also an ice cream guy. Hi.
My name is...
What?
My name is...
Huh?
My name is...
Rogue rival. Stop the...
I mean, come on. Come on, man. How funny is this?
It is true. It's perfect because it's not too.
It's obvious it's fake. That's
I'm glad
why it's
him
funny.
and Metzger started doing stuff.
Yes.
Like, Metzger, I've been around since I started, and he was always a guy that was. He was like one of the first guys where you're like, oh, this dude, like, this is nuts, dude. Because he was only probably a couple years older than me in comedy. And so, like, to be that young, like, and be, like, new, like me. And then he's, like, coming up with jokes like that. And you're like, this is crazy, dude. You're so good.
Yeah, he's an amazing joke writer. Amazing. And together, the two of them, they sync up perfectly. Personality-wise and writing-wise and style-wise.
It's about the jokes. It's about being funny. And that's what you get. Like, all they care about is being
funny. It's amazing. And also, they did a Comedy Central pilot. And in the Comedy Central pilot, they used a much better level of CGI where it looked realistic. And Kyle said he didn't like it.
Yeah.
He said, this is better. And I'm like,
see,
I 100%
that's what I
agree.
mean about stuff going.
Yeah.
You can go sit and watch those Instagram videos that are better like that
Yes.
versus when a whole TV thing and they start throwing money in it.
Right.
And then you're like, well, they just wasted whatever money they wasted to do that just to go like, it's better to do it on the budget that we're doing it on this.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, they're syncing up perfect with the right now with the way it's so easy to do like a shitty deep fake like that. Like anybody could do that on their phone now. and this syncing up perfectly with this whole thing that you were talking about earlier, where it's like some people are getting left in the cracks, some fucking really talented people, and for whatever reason, somebody hasn't taken a chance on a Comedy Central or this or that, and it's better that way because the stuff they say is too wild. Like that's part of what's funny about it.
Yeah,
it's so wild.
You're buying into. They're creating personalities.
Have you seen this Caitlyn Jenner ones? They're they are fucking wild. I mean, they're wild. When he does all the Kardashians and they only talk like this, nom nom, yum yum. And Caitlyn does all the talking. Did you find the one where Caitlyn got a new vagina and she's telling everybody about her new vagina? Holy shit, is it funny? Oh my God, is it funny?
I've gone to where I'll start flipping through them, and then you're just like, yeah, you just get kind of lost. The Ray Liotta was one of the first ones I saw that I was like, this is the funniest thing.
The
I've
Jeff
ever seen.
Goldblum one's off the charts too. He does an amazing Jeff Goldblum. But that's the thing about Dunnigan too, is like he's a master impersonator. Like his impressions are fucking great.
Yeah.
He could do a lot of weird voices, you know? They're like, I've never heard anybody do Mar that good. Like he sounds like Mar.
Yeah.
Well, you know, he has the mannerisms, he knows the tone, the way they talk.
It's impressive.
Fuck yeah.
It's super impressive.
But that's like, for your example, like this is they're completely independent.
It's not this, right? First female orgasm.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, maybe that's it.
I'm close.
To what?
Close to my first female orgasm. Yeah, baby. This isn't quite working. I need some tips on how to finish. I've been at this for 2 hours.
Is that a new YouTuber? I love that.
Oh, that's doing something, baby. Yeah. I need to get some suction on this situation.
What is happening? So weirded out.
Shut up, Checkers. You're distracting me.
Just let it happen, Dad.
Oh, that's a good tip, Chloe. Thanks.
You welcome.
Oh, I'm feeling a tickle on what used to be my pickle, baby. Yeah, let's turn this up a notch.
We need therapy.
All right, let's take this home. Oh, jeez, I just squirted on Checkers.
You couldn't do that anywhere else.
No.
You could not do that anywhere else. It's so funny. It's so funny.
I mean, I think like if they're on Comedy Central, they're going to take that into the room. And he goes, "This is what we're thinking." And they're like, "What are you talking about?"
Like, get the fuck out of here! You're gonna get us all killed.
You can't do this.
But you have to do that. It's like there's going to be an outlet for that, man. You know, you can bottle everything down. So, you know, those guys,
yeah, I think the outlet is, I mean, it's...
Those guys are going to pop through. They're
those
too
guys
good.
are pop through. You're going to start seeing people make stuff that's going to allow those guys. And that's going to be...
Yeah.
That's huge because it's like, that's your funniest guys.
Yeah.
So it's not like those are, like Kyle and Kurt are just like two dudes you don't know and we don't know if they're really funny. That's seasoned comedians.
Right.
That you can count on, that we know are funny.
Guys have worked behind the scenes on a bunch of shows.
You know, Kurt's put specials out. Kurt's toured. Like Kyle tours. Like this is not you're taking a chance. It's a matter of whether you like their comedy or not is your objective. But them being comedy writers and creating comedy, that's as foolproof as you can get.
What they're doing now is perfect. I think it's building. You know, it's building mostly by word of mouth and people sharing them and spreading them. But most of them have millions of views.
But at what point, if you go take that show, I'm saying, like, you look at it going like, so what do you want to do with that? So if it's like Kurt and them are like, you're like, all right, I want to make let's make a show. And then so you go, what do you want to do? You want to go to HBO? You're going to someone that's going to restrict you from doing the freedom that you can do. Versus if you have someone else that creates something, or if it goes through YouTube, or whatever it can go through where they can at least make some money or touring.
Yeah, well, that was the idea of Substack. I had one of the co-founders of Substack on yesterday.
It's like you just pay monthly.
Yeah, you subscribe to. It was originally just journalists, and now they've moved to podcasts. They have podcasts on it now, and even videos. They have video podcasts, and so you just subscribe to like whoever you want. and there's no advertising, and the money goes, like they get 10% and you get the rest.
I like that.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And that, just like podcasts opened up to the door to
how much
a
does it
lot of
cost
people.
to like subscribe? Is it like $1 or $2 or?
I don't know. Some people make it free. You can
Yeah.
make it for free. I know some people's their Substack is just open, and other people they accept donations, and some people they charge subscriptions, and some people have some stuff for free, and then some stuff if you want to be a member you get all of it. So they just get you into their stuff, and you realize.
See, that's the hard part is what's it going to be when there's only so much where you could be like, all right, are you going to be paying $80 a month for 80 different people, or
Well, I don't know how much you have
the
to
answer
pay.
to that.
I mean,
but I'm not saying Substack, but I'm saying in the future of whatever thing can go to.
Right.
I love the idea of no ad. It's the idea that you could pay a subscription and you don't have to do ads and you get the content that you want.
Right.
But it's if stuff gets too spread out, that's where it's hard to is it hard to make a superstar out of that because you're too much people are spending money and going two different
but is
many
that the
ways.
goal? Just making superstars?
No, I don't. It's not the goal.
The goal is just do your best, right? And
yeah, it's not. It's not the goal. I'm just I'm saying is that world kind of dies.
Maybe, or there's always going to be certain individuals that do things that are different. That whether it's Chris Rock or Dave Chappelle in comedy, whatever it is in whatever genre, there's people that never go away, for whatever reason. And I don't think trying to figure out why is the answer for the individual. I think for the individual, it's just do your best. Just do your best and do the best version of what you're doing. And if you're comparing yourself to others, do it in a way that inspires you only. Don't do it in a way that turns you into a jealous bitch.
Yeah,
because it's very easy. It's a natural human inclination to tend towards jealousy and bitterness at others' success.
Oh yeah,
it's natural. But
you feel it. You feel it the whole time you come up, and then you slowly.
Yeah.
I always tell people it's whatever you feel. Slowly, you're just going to move on, and then you're like, I can't believe I even cared about that. As long as you care about yourself, and you just end up. It's not that you don't complain to your friends about it, or but you just keep the circle tight. Venting is great. You do that kind of stuff, and then you get back and just mind your own business and be like. It's hard to stick to a plan. Because I think people can tend to think, well, this is working for this person, and then they change their whole act to try to be that person.
Right.
Where you got to go, no, just stay forward, and then you keep moving forward, and then because then a lot of times you can watch the thing that you're jealous of, you end up watching you pass it, and at one point you were jealous of that.
Well, it's just a bad instinct, because it's the same fuel that you could use for inspiration, and it's positive. It's the same fuel. You just decide how to use it. That feeling that you get that you're not as good, or you're not as valued, or you're not as appreciated, that feeling is fuel. You just got to use it the right way. The problem is there's just a natural inclination to feel negative about the person. I've heard people shit on people that are really good, really good famous comedians. Oh, his last special was garbage. Oh, there's this. You haven't put anything out in years. Just shut the fuck up. You first of all, you're wrong. It's not garbage. And second of all, it's you're looking at it. You're looking at it like it's representative of what he does. And it is in that one particular set. But everybody has sets that are kind of squirrely. And one good way to guarantee you're going to have a squirrely set is film it.
Yeah.
Film it. One show. You got one show. Ready, go. Ooh, some people can pull that off, but some people, they come off a little tense. Yeah. Whereas a regular show, they'd be super loose. But there's this natural inclination to want them to fall. You want to see them fall because somehow it lifts you up. But
it's easier than you trying.
It's just
is for that person to fall is easier than that person trying to.
It's a bad use of energy.
Yeah,
it's a bad use of energy because that same energy, if you don't give in to that instinct, and I've felt that instinct many times in my life. It's a gross instinct to be upset at someone who's doing better than you. But if you can just take that and say, "Oh, this is fuel for inspiration for me to get better and to become undeniable, to be undeniable." That's it. Just do that.
So Steve Martin.
Yeah.
Be undeniable.
Is that what he said?
I think it's his book.
That was his book?
Nah, I could be making all this up.
I know he had Let's Get Small.
not his book, but I thought it was Steve Martin said, "Just be undeniable."
Well,
or that's what I always heard he said.
He
Maybe
probably did.
didn't.
He was a smart dude. I didn't know he said it, but I say it too, and I think a lot of people
Yeah.
say it. It's just a natural progression. What does he say here? Be undeniably good. There it is. When people ask me, how do you make it in show business or whatever, what I always tell them, and nobody ever takes note of it, because it's not the answer they wanted to hear. What they want to hear is, here's how you get an agent, here's how you write a script, here's how you do this. But I always say, be so good they can't ignore you. If somebody's thinking, how can I be really good? People are going to come to you. It's much easier doing it that way than going to cocktail parties. Bam! So, Steve Martin just said exactly what I said. Or no,
You're on the
I
same
said
page.
exactly what he said. He said it already.
You might have said it before.
I don't think so.
You know?
I don't think so. But it's the same feeling.
That was from last week.
It's the same feeling. Just don't concentrate on that. Just, just do your, especially in something like comedy. It's way harder in acting because you got to get chosen.
Yeah.
We don't have to get chosen. There's if you're doing shows, you get recognized by your peers. People take you on the road. You get working in the clubs. You start making a living. We don't get chosen. We get made. We make ourselves, and we have other people help us. And that's not a thing an actor necessarily gets to do. It's
it's not up to them.
It's a way harder fucking road, man. Oof.
I never envied it.
If you can get to a point where you're a fucking working actor for decades, like a John Leguizamo,
it is crazy,
or like a James Franco,
yeah.
There's not that many, man. Not that many who get to that spot. How many Lawrence Fishburnes are there? I mean, how many guys? There's only.
And they didn't let him be in that the last Wick movie.
Didn't he get killed?
I don't think so. I don't. Not the Wick. I mean the.
Didn't they stab him in the third Wick movie?
Not the Wick. The other one. What's the other one? Keanu Reeves.
Oh, The Matrix.
The Matrix.
What do you mean?
I don't think he's in the one that came out.
What?
Is he?
You
Look
disinformation spreader. How dare you?
Huh?
How dare you, man?
He is.
You saw it.
I think he has COVID in it.
Think he's got bad memory?
I don't think he has I don't think he got
COVID
the
brain?
vaccine in there. I think the whole point of it.
What happened?
Why did I not think he was in it?
Because you're not paying attention.
Man, I don't. I'll
You're
say
eating
all
gummy
this.
bears and taking a nap.
All this, I do not follow movies. When you talk about the music playing in the movies, like I don't think I ever even pay attention to it.
Go to the opening scene in John Wick 2. There's this fucking badass. It's one of the best muscle car street scenes in a movie. It's John Wick chasing down this assassin in a 1970 Chevelle. Give me the volume though, because it's got all this music. Part of the thing. This is a great fucking scene. So this is right after John Wick 1 ends. He's going after everybody who stole his car and killed his dog.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's on this fucking murderous rampage. But listen, there's music. So there's a car chase. It's fucking amazing. But there's also music playing. By the way, let me just say for a fact, there's no fucking way a 1970 Chevelle could ever keep up with a motorcycle. Period. Yeah. End of discussion. This is silly. But it's still a fucking dope scene. See, look, he's slipping in and out, and John Wick figures it out. And so he manages to get around traffic. Everybody gets out of the way for John Wick. Look, he's just driving in the middle of the lanes and shit. Everybody's stuck in traffic, and he's going sideways around corners. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
But listen to all the music. Look, it's like letting you know what's happening. Look at it.
Yeah.
He's getting close.
I don't think I've ever paid attention to the.
You never seen this?
No,
Or
no,
pay
I've
attention
seen
to the music.
Pay attention to the music.
I think about that obsessively. Whenever I watch a movie and music starts playing, I can't help but think that music is playing.
Yeah.
And also that I just accept it. John Wick gets out. Music plays.
Yeah, it makes sense why they do. I mean, you get it makes it awesome.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that I don't notice it, maybe that's their job, is to be like, they don't want you to notice it.
Well, it's way better than without the music.
Yes.
Like, this is better.
Yes.
This shit, yeah, set the tone. Tell me what the fucking mood is, bitch.
It's
Let's
awesome.
go.
But that's, you talk about multicam on, we're talking about those. With comics, that's why the multicam, I think, worked, because it was attached to live laughs.
Yeah.
And it was
Real
nice
laughs,
to real laughs. It was nice to really laugh
with the people.
And
100%.
the audience and the comic knows how to play off laughs, which made the energy better.
100%. 100%. Yeah, it's infectious. Yeah. And when you hear them when they have laugh tracks, it's a little insulting.
Yeah.
Who was the fucking demon who first figured out the laugh track? How about we don't even have to have them laugh? We'll just play recordings of people laughing. We'll tell these dumb cocksuckers what's funny.
Have you ever seen a professional laugher?
What?
So when I did, unless I could be making,
it might be me.
It might be all. When we did our pilot, they had people come in, so you could when you have to run through the whole thing, you can't bring in a whole audience, so they bring in 4 people that are great laughers, and so you can kind of get your timing off of it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And so you look in the crowd, it's like 4 people like, like really loud laughing. And they were like really good. And you're going.
You imagine if somebody like hired them and they got busted, they hired them to be in their stand-up comedy taping.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
The whole audience would be there?
Well, just a giant amount.
Yeah.
Hired 150 laughers.
That'd be
so crazy.
Yeah.
What if they fucked up? They didn't, like, you're so bad, they don't know where the setups are, where the punchline is.
I felt, dude, I did that comedy.tv with Byron Aaron like years ago, and they had the same audience for like 7 hours. And so they were taping it, and like by the time we went up, you're like, this crowd doesn't even, they're laughing at all the, like it is you're in a front of a robot audience that has they're not listening. They've been there for too long. And so they would laugh at if you paused, they would laugh being like, I don't care. Is this where I should laugh? And I remember just the whole set, I just stared at this guy. He had big hair, and he's sitting there, and the whole show, he's furious. Like it's a guy that like goes, I was supposed to be here for an hour, and y'all have made me watch every comedian that's ever lived do 5 minutes. And he was so mad.
And they're getting paid very
And they're
little.
getting paid.
But it's not much.
Not much. Not enough to sit through that.
No, those people are all living below the poverty line, I would imagine.
They were not happy.
No.
And you felt it.
Yeah, that's like almost like showbiz adjacent. You're getting paid. You're in the audience, you're getting paid. You're a paid audience member.
Yeah, it's a job. It's a job. Yeah, it's an extra.
Yeah. I mean, you're kind of like an extra, right? Yeah. That's a fucking horrific job. Being an extra.
I'm reading through an article from LA Weekly where they were getting them from Central Casting, professional laughers. To an extent, not even that long ago, they were using it instead of like canned laughter. They would put fake people in waves to laugh at certain levels, and when they would start dying, they replaced them.
When you say who's they? Who did this?
Casting director.
Really?
Yeah.
So they would hire. Wow. They would hire people to fake laugh.
She would screen them. She got so good at it, people started calling her to replace their audiences with the people she could find.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Well, it's something that no one's ever really dove into to think there's a lot of people that are really good laughers.
Well, there's also they're not just good. Let's be real. They're not just good laughers. They're gonna laugh if it's funny or not.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah, not good. Yeah, you're right.
This is performative laughing.
Easy to entertain. They're just like they.
But can you imagine if you had? But it makes sense that they would rig the whole thing. If we were talking about like having a star, like there's so much money attached to these things.
Yeah.
Like the more of a laugh that something gets, the more people might be inclined to laugh at home. The more like maybe the performers would be energized because they're killing.
But that will product. But it's a better product in your mind. It's not in what you're going to see.
Product.
It's not a better product because it's all fake, and that means the jokes will not be truly tested.
Right.
That's why, like with comics, it's like when you go somewhere and you go like do a special or somewhere, and someone's like, "No," you're like, "Yo, this person's going to everywhere in America and maybe the world, and they're trying this joke. These jokes with comics, like they're the most tried thing that you've ever seen."
But what if they have already done it? What if that's the Big Bang Theory? What if it was just all professional laughers?
Yeah,
And
but the Big Bang,
they already did it, and they made a fucking $1 gajillion.
But Big Bang was funny. I mean, my parents loved it. I've seen some clips of that were very funny. Like,
so maybe they're really good at it.
I think they're good at. I think that shows you that was Chuck Lorre that's made a lot of like that shows you that the multicams.
I don't really think they had fake people in the audience laughing.
I think you do.
I don't.
I don't think Lawrence Fishburne was in Matrix.
What I'm saying is, imagine if
we can beg to differ. We agree to disagree, Joe.
I don't disagree. I didn't see the last one. I'm ignorant completely. But what was my point?
If they could do it, and it's like, what if they did do it and we don't know?
Yeah, I think they could pull it off. I think if you
I do think
like,
you laugh because other people laugh. That's true. I do. If you're you're contagiously, you want to be like, yeah, we're having a good time.
Do you think any of the laughers pull the people aside and go, I just want you to know, even if I wasn't getting paid, I would still laugh?
Yeah.
That was really
I
good.
think it would be funny to have him, a professional laugher. He's like, ah, you hear a gunshot. And you're like, this guy just had enough. Like, he just can't. You're like, and then all the other people start laughing because they're nervous. So then it just sounds like you're like, a guy just killed himself.
They just throw him in a hefty bag and drag him out real quick and place him with another guy.
And everybody's just kind of awkwardly
lay some plastic down the seat. Just right there. Sit there. He's fine. He's fine.
We'll get someone else.
Sit there.
You have to,
Jesus Christ. That's the Russian version of it.
It's too much.
That's the Russian version of Byron Allen. Guys are just blowing their brains out in the audience.
Guys licking the tire because he doesn't even know it tastes good. His whole life's fake.
Yeah.
He's oblivious.
How crazy is Russian roulette?
Oh, I don't know how you...
How crazy is it? I mean, I was just thinking about that. Like, that, first of all, that it's called Russian roulette, which is nuts. Like, who invented that? Is it just Russians?
I hope so.
Are they that wild that they came up with that? And then two.
Well, you seen that look at the Russian Instagram? Like, look at this Russian?
Oh, no.
There's an Instagram page that's, I think it's called Look at This Russian, and it's just people in Russia doing stuff. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Did you see what they did recently? They had a 600 versus 600 boxing match. 600 people versus 600 people in a field with boxing gloves on, and they come towards each other and just beat the holy fuck out of each other. You have to Google that, Jamie.
And does someone win?
Send me that link to that Russia thing, too.
Or does everybody lose?
Oh, who fucking knows? I only watched a small clip on Instagram. I have no idea what the context was, no idea what was happening. But look at this. They're running towards each other with fucking boxing gloves on. Look at this. There's guys in the yellow shirts and guys in the black shirts. And it's just a fucking swarm of people, 2-on-1, 3-on-1, 4-on-1, people beating the fuck out of each other. They go down, they're punching each other when they're down. There's no referees. And they look like they're kids. They all look like they're in their like teens or early 20s.
Yeah, they get tired.
Well, they're fucking going full blast. They're sprinting. And they I mean, the idea that this is a fucking sport is crazy. Like, these are the people that we're thinking about going to war with? Settle down, everybody.
This is what they're doing when they're waiting to go to war?
Well, this is what we're doing. We're arguing over 78 different genders. They're beating the fuck out of each other on a football field. 600 versus 600. I mean,
just running at each other.
There's hard parts of the world, man.
Well, the fact that they have that, you said the Russian roulette, that if that was made, that's such a crazy... You have a board game night with some families, and someone doesn't go home.
Maybe a couple.
You want to talk about the awkward conversations you have on a blind date? You're like, well, that's what you should do. If it's uncomfortable with the guy, you're like, let's play Russian roulette, and then you just kill the person that's uncomfortable. You're like, I did you a favor. All right. I did. Goes, come on, because we're playing Monopoly. Let's play some Monopoly.
That's the craziest thing to do. Russian roulette is the craziest thing to do. Like, to imagine.
Yeah, where did it come? Like, are you allowed to play it?
I bet people made prisoners do it. I bet that was probably the first versions of it. I bet people did it to prove that they didn't give a fuck, that they weren't scared. I bet, it's one of the fucking dumbest things you could ever do.
Yeah, I don't know the joy. I guess the joy of living.
Of living. But remember that scene in Deer Hunter? Holy shit.
I don't think I've ever seen Deer Hunter.
You never saw Deer Hunter?
No.
Oh, my God, dude. It's an incredible scene. Robert De Niro and Christopher Walken, and they're playing Russian roulette with each other. They play Russian roulette with guards. They play Russian roulette with the Viet Cong. It's crazy, man. And they make them do it. And they look at this. Play this. Give me some volume. Look at this. And they're betting. They're betting on who gets shot. And they're making these guys play Russian roulette. Look at this. You or me. Look at this. Look at them. They got guns pointed to them. It's just wild, man. Run to Mao.
Oh, wow.
Oh, fuck, dude. Fuck.
No more.
Mao! Mao! I'm gonna will us out of here. Mao! You got an empty chamber in that gun. Mao! Put an empty chamber in that gun. Go ahead. Mao! 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 God damn it! It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot. Shoot, Nicky! Go down there! You wait! Go down there! No, Nicky! Oh, you got... Oh, you're gonna die, you motherfucker! You're gonna die! Oh! Go ahead, Nicky. Go ahead, just do it. Do it. Go ahead.
Bro.
This is definitely not what I thought this movie was about.
Okay.
I would have went into this movie thinking it's completely something different.
Well, the movie is about Vietnam, but
no deers.
The deer hunter thing is he takes a shot at a deer and misses, and he will not take a second shot. Like, he has this like ethic in his head that it should be one shot, one kill.
Oh.
This guy has these morals and ethics that he applies to hunting and to life, and then he gets thrown into the chaos of the Vietnam War, and then there's a lot of shit in that movie. It's a heavy movie,
yeah,
but it's a really good movie.
Yeah,
a really good movie.
I'm going back and watching a bunch of old movies because I missed a lot of the movies.
That's one that holds up, man. Was there music playing? No music when that was going on?
Kept it real.
Yeah, that was interesting, right? We didn't even notice. But with the acting, god damn, the acting.
But maybe because it's like, you know what's funny? The music is like, it's more. That's why it's more intense of a scene,
right?
Because you're not distracted by music. You're just having to feel like you're sitting there,
right? And the acting, how good? How good is Christopher Walken in that scene? Jesus Christ,
very good.
Jesus Christ.
He was in The Matrix.
And those guys that are smacking him around, how great are those guys? Who are those guys?
That's what I mean. Like, you see some of those movies with those, you're like, dude, these dudes.
That guy really looks like he's forcing that guy to shoot himself in the head.
It's crazy. I always think that in like some of those movies, you're like, is there just like some of these other countries, you're like, they're going to this town and being like, how many Oscar nominees do we have here? And they're just yanking them out. And you're like, these dudes are the greatest actors I've ever seen in my life. And we don't even talk about it. We're like, all right, thanks for everything.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're better than our own people, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is true. There's a lot of, I mean, Captain Phillip, like that guy, was like, that guy became, like that guy's a star. It's like you end up becoming some guys that you think are going to, they're just like, you're like, well, I don't know if they even expect them to be a star. Or they're just, and then you're like, this dude's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, there's talented people out there. And there's more opportunities now for talented people just to get your shit out there than ever before. It's weird. Weird time.
It is.
It's exciting though. You know, we were talking about streaming versus putting things on YouTube last night, and versus doing what Schultz did or what people are doing with other stuff on Substack and other places. It's a interesting landscape.
Yeah, It's it does. It opens the door for anybody. Anybody can go grab success. I think there's going to be a lot more people that someone's going to be like, I don't know who that is. And you're like, well, that guy's worth $100 million and he's enormous and he has a giant following. And, it's you build your audience. If your audience, you walk around with an audience, you can compete because you just have, if you're creating something that is substantial, an act, create an act, create something people can come back to.
Create something that people like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Nate Bargatze. I think we did it.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to me. Thank you
It's a
very
big
much.
day.
When's your birthday?
March 25th.
I'll remember it. I'm going to write it down.
Thanks, man. Same day as Stan Hope and Tommy Johnigan.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'll remember that now.
Yeah. I appreciate it, dude.
It's fun hanging out with you, brother.
I loved it, man.
We got to do this more often.
I know.
It'd be a lot of fun. It was like 4 hours, right? 4 fucking hours, dude.
Lawrence Fishburne.
We didn't even pee.
It's
very impressive. All right, Nate, you're the fucking man. Tell everybody, is it natebargatze.com?
Yep, natebargatze.com. Big tour going on right now. Everywhere.
Yeah, you're all over the place.
All over the place. Go to my website. All the stuff's there.
And your podcast
Nateland
is?
Podcast.
Nateland, is that on everything?
It's on everything with my buddy with Nashville Comics, Dusty Slay, Aaron Weber, Brian Bates.
Beautiful. All right, thank you, and bye, everybody.
Bye.